What's going on, fellow A-Plusers? It's your boy, Adam Perez. We're back once again with a brand new episode for you guys today as we break down the weekly review for your Marvel, DC television, and movie news. As we certainly wrap up your week, guys, we got 6 incredible topics we're going to be diving into as D23 Expo wraps up. We're going to be highlighting the Marvel animation panel that wind up dropping as of Saturday. We also got some Channing Tatum in the news, as he's certainly still hoping to have his solo Gambit film after Deadpool and Wolverine. We'll talk a little bit about that. We got some DCU rumors for you guys in regards to an animated upcoming series and a ton more. So sit back, relax, and we'll see you on the other side. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new episode of A+ Hero Report, your weekly stop for your Marvel, DC television, and movie news, as we certainly wrap up your week going live over on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch, ladies and gentlemen. So it's fantastic to see each and every one of you today. As you can see, your boy wind up getting a little bit of a haircut yesterday. My hair was kind of growing out a little bit. I know you guys are probably used to seeing me with like the big faux hawk or just all the hair, but earlier this year, I did decide to go ahead and start cutting it on a little bit of a regular, if you will. And so I had to get a fresh cut. It's been hot here in Dallas, Texas, man. I can tell you that right now. I think it was probably peak 100 earlier in the middle of this past week. Humidity had a feeling like 105, 110. It's been nasty, man. So I needed to cut off all my hair. This may be the last time you guys see me with short hair. If anything, I'll probably grow it out through the fall and into the winter. Maybe I might trim and fade the sides going forward, but I think I might try and bring back my hair and my curls a little bit after this fresh buzz. So yeah, your boy feels like a new man today. It is just myself helming the ship for A+ Hero Report. It wasn't originally that way. I did have plans on having Stuart to certainly join us, but homeboy unfortunately is not feeling well today. He woke up kind of sick, so send your best wishes to Stuart. Hopefully Indy will get back on his feet and we'll have Indy here within the next several weeks also. But today, it's just you and me, guys. You and me. I got my water ready. I got my coffee to keep that energy up, if you will, with my fantastic Winnie the Pooh mug here. I think this is Cindy's, if I'm not mistaken. But it's just you and I, man. So I hope you guys don't mind just having some company with me today. But look, I don't want to be just talking to myself all day long. So as I talk to you guys, listen, at the end of the day, these are simply my A+ opinions. I always want to know yours. Please let your thoughts be known in the comment section box below. Feel free to interact, take part in the conversation. Let me know what you feel about some of the things that we definitely talk about, and it should be a good day, to certainly say the least. We got a couple people watching us over on Twitter as well as YouTube today. So look, if you are watching us live, do us a big favor, man. Hit that like button, share these videos, retweet it, let people know A+ Hero Report is live right now, as we're going to go ahead and wrap up your guys this week. But before we do, you guys know I love giving some shout outs to people that are in the live chat showing their support. We got Enrique Perez. What's up? He says, hey, Adam, just saw the official trailer for the new Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy special during last Friday. Yeah, I haven't seen the trailer. I have seen a ton of people posting about it. I don't really care for the Lego Star Wars stuff, honestly. Look, I had my fun with the first Lego movie. I'm good. Maybe even Batman the Lego movie. I'm good. I'm not really a true subscriber to watching everything Lego, regardless if I love me some Star Wars or not. But I did see Jar Jar Binks is in it. I think Ahmed Best is maybe coming back to voice him. I think I even saw Mark Hamill is set to reprise his role as Luke, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong, though. If you guys missed it, Stuart and I had a long session on Friday. We highlighted the Disney showcase, the Disney Entertainment showcase panel that they had on Friday evening. It was scheduled for just 2 hours, but me and Stuart went for like 3. We talked about everything from the Pixar animation stuff revealed, Marvel Studios panel, Lucasfilm stuff. We even watched the Skeleton Crew trailer a little bit. If anything, I might actually do an individual Skeleton Crew review video. If not today, definitely tomorrow for you guys, because I certainly want to go ahead and talk about it as we bring in a brand new Star Wars television series. But if you did miss it, we did do a live reaction to the Disney Entertainment Showcase. Feel free to go ahead and check it out on our YouTube page. It is like 3 hours long, but you can certainly skim through it if you want, as we talked about all the reveals and details that wind up dropping. He says, I also saw the official trailer for the home media release of Inside Out 2 that comes out digitally in August. Man, it's coming out digitally August already. I mean, it probably means it's going to be out of the theaters relatively soon. And I really wanted to see it in theaters, especially since it made like $1.5 billion at the box office. Believe it or not, Inside Out 2 is now top 10 biggest sort of box office records worldwide. Highest grossing, like top 10 highest grossing films of all time. I also saw a trailer for upcoming movies, like including Moana 2, Win or Lose, Mufasa the Lion King, the live action Snow White. All the trailers that he's referring to, if you haven't seen them, they are currently up on our Facebook page if you want to go ahead and check them out for yourself. I personally thought that the Skeleton Crew trailer was probably the best trailer that they dropped all that evening. Although the Daredevil Born Again, if you guys have seen the leaked trailer footage, that looks pretty damn good. Actually, I got pretty hyped for that. But as far as ones that they actually released to the public, I love Skeleton Crew. Moana 2 looks really good. I don't know too much about the production for Snow White, the live action with Rachel Zegler. I didn't mind the trailer. I thought visually, at least, it looked it looked pretty good. We'll see what the movie itself is going to be like. A live action Disney can be rather hit or miss at times. And the Mufasa the Lion King, I did see that trailer too. You know, while I love the Lion King, I may have only seen the second Lion King once or twice in my life. I'm a big fan of the original, but you know, I just don't know if I want to. I don't know if I want a prequel. I do think that they've got some great talent attached to it. Great music composition, you know, putting together some brand new songs and stuff. But I just don't know if I care about the life of Mufasa so much. You know, the trailer looked good. I just don't know for me if I'm hyped about it. But I'm sure maybe some people definitely are. So I will be curious to see how it performs in the box office. Tomorrow, Nickelodeon is going to air Sonic the Movie double feature leading up to the premiere of 6-episode event. Damn, it's like of Knuckles on Nickelodeon. That's pretty cool. You know, I don't know if I get Nickelodeon. I don't have cable anymore. I wonder if that's something I can watch streaming wise. But I think that's a pretty cool marathon, honestly. Like, for instance, I haven't seen the second Sonic, nor have I seen the Knuckles series. But that's a great sort of triple feature, if you will, to lead in, or double feature to lead into the Knuckles series on Nickelodeon. I kind of dig that idea. Ram Jam, what's up, Ram Jam? Good to see you. He also says the Mufasa Lion King trailer has been released. Yeah, I think we dropped that on Friday on the. I don't know if I dropped it on the Facebook page or not. Me, AJ loves bacon. AJ, it's morphin' time. That's what time it is, buddy. Thank you so much for certainly coming through today. Marcelino, Cartoon Network website has been officially shut down. Nick Cage was in talks to return as Ghost Rider and Deadpool Wolverine, and Lando show is canceled, confirmed by the showrunner. To correct you, that gentleman is no longer the showrunner for Lando. He has not been the showrunner for a very, very long time. Since his letting go of being part of the Lando series, they have interviewed Donald Glover several times in regards to it, and it's now being helmed by Donald Glover, fresh off of his time in Atlanta. There's a comingsoon.net article if you want to read about it that confirms that no, the show has not been canceled. It may be being turned into a film itself, but the showrunner has not been the showrunner for quite some time now. And so I do believe that interview was based off of his own personal time, because since then, Donald Glover has come out and talked about the Lando show and something that he's personally going to be developing. So it looks like he's going to be a little bit more hands-on with the Lando stuff. Whether that means it's going to be a Lando show or is he turning it into a movie, I'm not quite sure. Hopefully Donald Glover will talk a little bit more about it now that he's released his Childish Gambino album. I would assume that the Lando or maybe another project might be something on the horizon that he starts working on next. But yeah, the Cartoon Network website being shut down was rather fascinating. I am curious as to why that is. Warner Brothers, are they under the Warner Brothers Discovery banner? I heard that Warner Brothers took like a $1 billion hit or something like that recently because their networks or something like that weren't valued properly. Something crazy. Like they just lost a shit ton of money right now. I really have no idea what the hell David Zaslav is certainly doing. And I thought David Zaslav was going to be a great addition for Warner Brothers Discovery, but damn, was I wrong. Sam, what's up, Sam? Good to see you, man. Hey, Adam. Okay, I saw the trailer for Common Rider Gav is looking interesting. Oh, there's a new Common Rider that they're preparing for. I guess it is almost getting to that time of the year where they start revealing like upcoming seasons and stuff. I wonder if they started doing leaks for anything Super Sentai related. Blossom, what's up, Blossom? Good to see you in here as always. And of course, good old Ram. Oh, I think I pull up Ram Jam earlier. My birthday was last Tuesday. Happy belated birthday, bro. Happy belated birthday, man. I'm going to be celebrating it later tonight. Let me know how you're going to celebrate. Maybe I'll grab a beer for you and take a drink, man. But happy belated birthday, Ram Jam. Hope you have a fantastic day, man. Sam says, yeah, after Kamen Rider Gotchard finished the season. Okay, so it looks like they're getting ready for a new Kamen Rider. Very, very cool. With that out of the way, look, feel free to always comment any particular time. Again, if you see any articles that we're talking about that you want to have a conversation about, please go ahead and feel free to let your voices be heard in the comment section box below. If you want us to stop what we're doing, immediately bring up your comment, highlight what it is that you want to talk about. Feel free to also send us a super chat if you can certainly afford to do so and help us out monetarily. We don't have any sponsors, but as much coffee as I drink on this show, I think I should get like a coffee sponsorship, maybe even like a razor sort of sponsorship for somebody that shaves. Maybe we can find some other type of sponsorships, but we don't have any sponsorships right now. So if you do want to support the channel monetarily, feel free to go ahead and submit a super chat. Again, we'll stop what we're doing. We'll definitely highlight you, bring you on the page. Thank you so much for what you provided for us. And if you can't help out monetarily, that's more than fine. You can certainly help out by hitting that like button. That is certainly free. Feel free to share these videos and retweet, especially if you're watching over on Twitter, ladies and gentlemen. So let's go ahead and kick off with our first segment of the day. And we're going to get into honorable mentions for you guys. I meant to actually change the color of this banner to go with more of the Marvel animation logo. Yeah, we'll kind of go with some yellow today. Feeling kind of bright. Why not? Also, before we get into live honorable mentions, if you do want to submit a live viewer question over, I did post it super late yesterday. I do apologize. But if you go over to our YouTube channel, click on that community tab, there is in fact a live viewer question post. Feel free to go ahead and submit your question over, and we'll definitely get to it at the end of the show for you guys. If anything, I usually try and remember to post them like in the morning or afternoon, late afternoon on Saturday, but yesterday was such a busy day, I wind up dropping it rather late. But it is up there now, so if you want to submit a question over, certainly feel free to. Let's see, what should we talk about in honorable mentions? I didn't pull up any I did not pull up any images to go with this, so I'm just going to speak through them briefly. One that jumped out at me was we are getting a sequel. I don't remember if you guys recall this one. I don't think it was directed by Sam Raimi, but it was certainly produced by Sam Raimi. The movie Crawl. I think it was like alligator infested waters. I think a town maybe in Florida or Louisiana winds up sort of getting flooded, and they wind up getting like crocodiles or alligators in there that start like eating and killing people. And so they are making a sequel to that. According to Hollywood Reporter, Crawl 2 heats up at Paramount as the horror thriller Eyes of Fall shoot. It is, in fact, an exclusive information from them. Paramount Pictures is crawling back for more. According to the article, the studio is deep in development on a sequel to Crawl. It's gator gnashing horror movie released back in 2019 and is eyeing a fall shoot in Europe. They've got Andrew Dushman and Jason Pagan, known for penning the horror flick Paranormal Activity, The Ghost Dimension, and the time-traveling romp Project Almanac, are in fact writing the script. The same director from Crawl is coming back. Alexandre Aja, who directed the initial movie, will be back behind the director's chair, which I kind of like. There were kind of elements of Aja's work that kind of reminded me a little bit of like Sam Raimi inspired a film. So I'm kind of glad that he's coming back. And of course, we got Sam Raimi, who's coming back also to produce the movie as well. So he is attached in some form or another. Look, as long as Crawl 2 doesn't like jump the shark and get all Sharknado on me, then I'm perfectly okay with the idea of a sequel. I had fun with the first one, honestly, some pretty good jump scares, if you will. I really like the lead actress in that movie also. I don't know if she's going to be coming back or what route they're going to go in far as a cast goes, but I'm kind of open to the idea of a Crawl 2. So Paramount is pulling the trigger on it, and as of right now, Crawl 2 is set to be developed in start production this upcoming fall. We also got news in regards to filming has officially begun for, if you guys recall, Anthony Mackie's series that was on Peacock, Twisted Metal. They actually shared some behind the scenes photos from the set of Twisted Metal season 2, confirming that production on the next installment to Peacock has finally begun. This comes after over a year since the show debuted its 10-episode first season, which garnered a ton of views as one of Peacock's most watched comedy premieres. How did you guys like Twisted Metal? I feel like some people that I know that watched it, that played the video game, thought it was pretty fun. I'm a big fan of Samoa Joe, so I'm glad that he got the opportunity to be in the series. But I do like Anthony Mackie, and I guess Anthony Mackie's probably officially done with all of his shooting for Captain America. They did have some really heavy sort of reshoots for Captain America Brave New World, so I would assume Anthony is completely done with that and now moving on to filming season 2 of Twisted Metal. So let me know what you guys thought about Twisted Metal. I would be kind of curious to know how you guys felt about the series as a whole. It is one that I wanted to watch, but I never got around to certainly doing it. But yeah, I'm eager to see what they come up with for sure. What else did I have on deck on the docket for honorable mentions? Let me look at my list again real quick. And also, by the way, if you guys are big Star Wars fans, if you guys recall our Jedi Master on our Jedi Council for the Acolyte television show, Crystal Kyber, she did just drop her trailer reaction for Skeleton Crew if you want to check it out. So again, go over to her YouTube channel, Crystal Kyber. She's given a nice little reaction to it. I haven't checked out her reaction personally as of yet, but I certainly will. But I do want to talk about Skeleton Crew. So if anything, I'm probably going to go ahead and do a video for you guys later on this week. If not recorded tonight, then definitely tomorrow for you guys, because I am kind of curious to really gush about it, because I was actually a really, really big fan. What else do we have? Apparently Borderlands is not doing so good at the box office. Apparently I don't know if I was doing at the box office, but the reviews have come through for Borderlands and they are not looking good, y'all. They're not looking good. Look, and I've never played the Borderlands video game. I don't even know what the Rotten Tomato score is right now for critics. Last time I looked, it was like 3%. I don't know if I've ever seen a movie on Rotten Tomatoes go from like a 0% to literally 3%. Like one person has kind of enjoyed this movie so far. And I think that was Grace Randolph, if I'm not mistaken, the reviewer. I don't really watch any of Grace's stuff, but I just know of her. But yeah, Borderlands is not doing too well critically. I am kind of curious to see how audiences will gravitate towards it or not. You know, somebody who hasn't played the video game like myself, like an outsider kind of looking in, I was a big fan of the trailers. At least like the trailers made me want to kind of go. It definitely gave me sort of like Guardians of the Galaxy vibes a little bit, and I kind of dig those like I don't want to say buddy cop, but like group of misfits and sort of like a space adventure. So the trailers looked appealing to me, but again, those are trailers. Trailers could certainly make you think a movie or show is going to be better than what it truly is. So we'll see. We'll see. I don't even know when that movie comes out or if it has officially come out yet. But in regards to other honorable mention news for you guys, apparently Netflix, Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead universe has been scrapped by Netflix, man. Army of the Dead fans just got some bad news. Zack Snyder's horror action series won't be getting that animated series that was previously hinted at. Netflix isn't breaking ties with the director just yet. They still have an animated, I don't know if that's a series or a movie that's dropping, titled Twilight of the Gods, hitting this year. The Wrap first reported the news of Army of the Dead hitting a snag, though. We are very ambitious about everything, is what she said, pointing out Army of the Dead isn't completely six feet under. She pointed out that there are plans for a Halloween themed experience at Six Flags Parks. So hope springs again. Look, man, sometimes I wonder if Snyder just, I don't want to say has just too big of an imagination. But I am starting to get this feeling that like Zack Snyder likes to start things and not complete them. you know, like I am thankful, at least while I haven't watched it, I am at least thankful for the idea that Rebel Moon got its full director's cut. But I thought I've also heard him talk about the idea of wanting to do more things in relation to Rebel Moon. But he also boasted about wanting to do a ton of things with Army of the Dead as well, right? A big cinematic universe. Talked about the animated series. To their benefit, they did at least come out with a prequel for Army of the Dead. I think was that Army of Thieves or something like that. I can't remember what the name of it was. That was dropped over on Netflix. Nowhere near as good as Army of the Dead, but definitely had some connective tissues to it. But I was really looking forward to seeing Army of the Dead continue to grow. Like out of the two projects that he's dropped for Netflix so far, out of Army of the Dead and Rebel Moon, I was a much bigger fan of Army of the Dead and wanted to see that world kind of explored. But it looks like he kind of dropped the ball on that, perhaps in regards to then wanting to jump into something like Rebel Moon. And I've heard him talk about wanting to do other things with Rebel Moon now. And so I'm like, bro, I don't even know if I should get invested in what you put out these days. Like I appreciate his ambition for always wanting to go bigger and create these, these universes and stuff. But it's like he tees it up but never finishes it, or doesn't have anybody else kind of come in and finish it. So it does make me a little bit hesitant on future Zack Snyder projects, at least the ones in which he talks about how big of a scale and scope his world is and all the things that he wants to do. When he starts talking about wanting to create a universe, I'm like, bro, I just give me a singular movie from this point on, please. So we'll see if anything else transpires from it. But as of right now, it doesn't look like they're going to be moving forward with it. But they do have a Twilight of the Gods animated vision of Norse mythology coming to Netflix later on this year as well. And I think there was one more thing up here that I saw that I wanted to highlight for you guys. Where did it go? I just had it. Oh, can we talk about this real quick? Where are my Power Ranger fans at? There was some news a couple of weeks ago that a former Power Ranger from Power Rangers Samurai, actor by the name of Hector, was it Hector David Jr.? Why am I? Oh, Hector David Rivera. Sorry about that. There was footage of him pushing over an elderly man in a parking lot. They had a photo of him, but some people were like, "Oh, I don't know if that's Hector or not from Power Rangers." But I mean, they literally put out like an APB on this dude, like a warrant for this man and everything. And we got some news in regards to it. One, it definitely was him. It definitely was him, which is a little bit of a bummer to say the least. But I did want to go ahead and get you guys updated on what's going on with his situation. So let me bring this up. This is from KTVB7 news. Former Power Ranger actor charged with battery in Nampa and has a court date officially set as well. This is from Boise, Idaho. Court documents obtained Wednesday show what led to an actor being charged with misdemeanor battery after allegedly pushing an elderly man to the ground in a Nampa parking lot. They received a copy of the probable cause affidavit, which states the confrontation between Hector David and a 62-year-old man started after Rivera parked in a handicap spot, despite not having a handicap place card in his truck. Like, bro, first off, okay, you're breaking the law in regards to parking inside of a handicap spot. Like, look, I've done it before. I've done it before in the sense of like, let me just park here real quick. I'm just gonna run in, grab, and then boom, I gotta go, right? But that's usually like at the coffee shop when I order ahead of time. I know my coffee's gonna be ready. There's no parking. Maybe I'll just pop in here real quick, get my coffee, and jump out, sort of thing. So I know I'm breaking the law. Okay. So I'm not going to then get upset at somebody that's going to call me out for breaking the law in the sense of taking up a spot that clearly an elderly person needs and then get into a confrontation with the man. But apparently that's what happened here. That after Rivera parked in a handicap spot, despite not having a handicap place in his truck, Rivera, most notably known for his role in Power Rangers, had a warrant issued by Nampa police and was charged with the misdemeanor battery. The affidavit states the victim confronted Rivera, who then became hostile and started yelling at the victim. Rivera took photos of the victim. However, the victim was also filming on his dash camera. Do you recognize this battery suspect? Damn. After a verbal altercation in the parking lot, he pushed an elderly man with a walker to the ground. Hold on. Where'd it go? Here. Damn. Yeah, I don't know if y'all saw that, but yeah, bro. When the victim went to walk away, Rivera reportedly pushed the victim to the ground. A bystander helped the victim up while Rivera drove away. Rivera's arraignment is scheduled for Wednesday, August 28th. The 35-year-old Rivera is known for playing the Green Power Ranger from 2011 to 2015. He's also been removed from Magic Valley Comic-Con since the evidence after the charges. So yeah, man. I don't know exactly like what the punishment is for misdemeanor battery. But yeah, I mean, it's a 62-year-old man, bro. Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing, my guy? Shit. You know, people are saying, you know, Power Rangers is cursed. Is a Power Ranger cursed? No, Power Rangers isn't cursed. People are just shitty people, bro. Okay. People are just shitty people sometimes. And look, and I say this all the time. Like, I know that especially as we grow up, you know, from being a kid to a teenager, being, you know, a young adult, you know, as we watch these people, you know, we sometimes forget that these actors aren't these people they portray on TV, right? We get so infatuated with who they are as their characters, and we love them for it, right? We idolize these people sometimes. You know, we like to think that the people that are portraying Power Rangers have sort of some sense of morality at times, right? And so we look up to them. And I'm not saying that all Power Rangers don't, right? But at the end of the day, they are still just human beings. And so as I am somebody who's 41 years old, sometimes I have had to learn the hard way over my life, the idea of like sometimes these people that we look up to just aren't necessarily the people that we hope that they certainly are. And there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody has their own personality traits and their own things that happen. But I'm not gonna blame a curse for changing somebody. Like, no, bro, this is who they are as people. You know, they got their paycheck, they did their job as an actor, and now they're living their life. And you know, we get to see them for who they are. You know, I don't know Hector David from anybody else. I've met the dude one time in my life when I went to Power Morphicon back in 2014. Homeboy was drunk when I met him. We were all at the bar having a good time. You know what I'm saying? And he comes in and he's messing around with you know, all the Power Ranger fans, having a good time, not doing anything bad or whatnot. Like we literally took a drunk picture together. We had our fist up to each other's chin, like like we were both playing around, having a good time. You know. But I will say that just from like interviews that I've seen him in, conventions that I've seen him in, there is sort of like a level of arrogance or like a cockiness that I feel like he might carry around with him sometimes. Like he thinks he's he's the hot shit sort of thing. And I don't know if he still kind of carries himself around like that. But those are just the impressions that I get from him when I see him around. And so, you know, if I could be honest, the idea of him doing something like this, I think surprises me, but at the same time, it doesn't, if that makes sense. So we'll see what happens, man. But yeah, apparently he's scheduled for something come August. Come August 28th, I believe is what it said. Marcelino says, it's crazy that before ASJ got in trouble earlier, his shirt line product, and now Hector is in trouble for assault and battery. Yeah, man, we had a Power Ranger kill somebody, stab somebody with a sword, claiming self-defense. The guy was a guy that played Cole from Wild Force sort of thing. So yeah, man, it's you know, sometimes people just show you who they are, man. Right. So just, you know, nothing wrong with admiring people and whatnot. But, you know, I always say keep that wall up just in case, because some people will unfortunately disappoint you. But they're humans after all, right? We can't hold them to a higher standard than anybody else. But yeah, sad stuff, man. Sad stuff. We'll see. I'll keep you guys posted in regards to anything that happens with this court case. But with that out of the way, that will do it for all of our honorable mentions, y'all. Appreciate you, Will Polk, for liking our video over on Facebook today. Thank you so much for certainly joining us, man. But guys, let's go ahead and get into the main topics. We got 6 for you guys today. I was able to pull up some images from Marvel Animation panel this week. But let's talk about it. Marvel Animation was on deck this week. Yesterday, I think it was Friday, they had the Disney Entertainment Showcase where they did all the live action stuff. Saturday was Marvel Animation, where they were going to highlight all the animated series that they currently have in production. And they focused on 4 specifically. They focused on Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. They also focused on What If Season 3. They talked a little bit about Marvel Zombies, along with Season 2 of X-Men 97. So we're going to highlight a couple of these things that were in fact discussed, along with some images that they wind up dropping. So I got a couple of articles here that we can go ahead and talk about when it comes to Marvel Animation. So let me go ahead and pull this up here. First one, we'll go ahead and dive into this is from thedirect.com. This is every major announcement from the Marvel Animation panel. And I'll pull up some of the images that I was able to find for you guys as we talk through this. So we got some updates. They played a montage. This is a montage was playing and highlighted What If Season 3, Marvel Zombies, Eyes of Wakanda, which is the Black Panther animated series, and Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. The footage includes shots of both White Vision and Ironheart, potentially from What If Season 3. So first up, it looks like it was X-Men 97, new additions and updates. So when it comes to X-Men 97, it says a mutant character. Actually, no, let me pull up this for X-Men 97 here. It says the mutant character Danger was confirmed for inclusion in season 2 of X-Men 97. Winderbaum, Brad Winderbaum, I believe he's the animated executive producer, explained how Marvel had to limit themselves in terms of characters and stories that they wanted to bring into season 2. Fans erupted as rogue actress Lenore Zan and Wolverine voice actor Cal Dodd took the stage. They did say that Zan shared her favorite rogue moment with the crowd. There ain't no cure for who you are, is what she said. Another character who will also be heavily utilized in season 2 is Bishop after his return to the fold in season 1. So he's definitely going to be involved in there. They also highlighted the idea that they are expanding the rosters, but they're also going to be taking emphasis from a recent Grant Morrison run on the X-Men here. This bit of news comes to us from comicbook.com. It says, let's see. Today, the House of Mouse focused on the world of animation. Marvel had a big few details to share, including the reveal that the crew will be boasting new costumes in season 2, and they are inspired by Grant Morrison's new X-Men run featuring the yellow and black jackets. That's not all, as a new villain was also revealed for the season, turning out to be none other than Danger. The core X-Men group for season 1 will be making a return, aside from Gambit, unfortunately, at least at the moment, is what the article says. And they will be joined by even more famous characters from the franchise. In addition to Danger, the teaser gave fans first looks at X-Men like Havoc and Polaris, which I'm a really big fan of both of those characters. Honestly, I think weren't they love interests at one point in time in the comics? I think Havoc is now with Madeline Pryor, if I'm not mistaken, in the comic books. And if the end of season 1 is anything to go by, Apocalypse will have an established role in season 2. That could also be how we get Gambit back, as he returned into he was turned into Apocalypse's horseman in the comics at one point. As for the new costumes, Grant Morrison's beloved new X-Men run is clearly the inspiration for the new costumes. Former showrunner Bo DeMeo has already confirmed the new suits, revealing why they were chosen for the second season. He wrote, "As with all costume changes, this decision was rooted in story for me and the themes season 2 will explore. Obviously, these suits have strong ties to Genosha, and E is for extinction." The new costumes were a big departure from the colorful spandex suits fans knew at that point, trading those in for black and yellow jackets and pants looks for them, aside Emma Frost. In season 1, X-Men changed looks towards the end, kind of moving towards the 90s design, which I was a really big fan of. It definitely reminded me of like giant size X-Men costumes, and moved into looks based on early interpretations of the characters. Now the show is moving forward in that costume timeline, and the possibility of more look changes throughout the season is pretty high. So yeah, we're definitely going to be getting some pretty good stuff when it comes to season 2 of X-Men 97. And I'm a big fan, man. I love the idea of them tackling these costumes. I would be interested if, like, why the costume change. Like, clearly Bo DeMeo teases the idea that yes, it's going to be based off of storyline purposes, but what those storyline purposes are, that I certainly don't know. I am kind of curious if it's a case of after the events of everything that happened to Genosha, now I remember half of these X-Men wind up sort of being teleported and like completely missing in time. So it feels like they're kind of fragmented all over the place. So I am kind of curious if it's turned to a dark and dreary time for the X-Men, in the sense of having lost some of their members and not knowing where to go, and then not knowing where they went, and then on top of the idea of everything that happened in Genosha, if there's just like a darker sort of vibe to their mentality when it comes to the human race. Like I do wonder if that's why they're going from the vibrant colors to something a little bit darker. Grant Morrison's run was kind of fascinating too. I think that's where we got introduced to Cassandra Nova, if I'm not mistaken, Professor X's sister from the womb, who was just highlighted in something like Deadpool and Wolverine. So who knows if she's going to pop up in any capacity here for season 2. But we got, again, new characters in Danger, Havoc, and Polaris having a big role to play, along with Gambit. being a big part of the team as well, and an upcoming costume change for our characters. So I'm actually kind of really looking forward to it. I'm glad that Bo DeMayo recently came out and talked a little bit about it. Even though he's no longer on the project, they did announce a brand new writer for X-Men 97 season 3, and they did mention that season 2 was getting some rewrites. So I'm kind of curious as to how much is being changed now that Bo DeMayo is gone. But I do like hearing Bo DeMayo certainly talk about it. Sam, what's up, Sam? He says, I hope Sabretooth will be in X-Men 97 season 2. I hope so too. I hope so too. What else did they talk about here? Let's see. What If season 3, baby? That's right. Actually a really big fan of What If season 3. They recently had revealed to us some images from like a sneak peek into What If season 3. So let's go ahead and dive into this. It says director Brian Edwards take the stage to hype up season 3, which is said to be the final arch of the Watcher's multiverse spanning story. Andrews explains how Marvel Animation can take big swings and how crazy the story gets in What If. One episode will feature Go Avengers, Heroes of the Gamma War, and it is heavily centered on mechs. Anthony Mackie's Sam Wilson delivers the Avengers Assemble line as mechs are assembled and developed. Interesting. I think this is what they're referring to. They did drop this image to kind of go along with it also. The footage also sees the Red Guardian from Black Widow get their own mechs, and the Red Guardian is happy to be an Avenger. It actually says Red Guardian and Melina Vostokov. I'm assuming that's Black Widow's parents, if I'm not mistaken. The footage also includes Moon Knight and Monica Rambeau, confirmed both for season 3. We get the opportunity to see Monica here. I wonder. That's got me wondering now if the homeboy in the back, if that's Moon Knight without his mask on or not. But Moon Knight will be in here. They already kind of showed an exclusive clip of What If season 3, featuring the Winter Soldier and Red Guardian, as you can kind of see here as well. So yeah. I'm trying to see if there's more information. What If is returning for a third and final season and will traverse new worlds while also wrapping up the Watcher's story. He says, the producer says season 3 really plays with the genre. They did have footage plays. It says the intro for an old school animated series titled Go Avengers, about them getting their mech suits. Sam leading a modern team of mech Avengers with Monica, Shang-Chi, Red Guardian, and Melina, Moon Knight, and Shuri. They combine their mechs like a Voltron to fight a horde of Hulk monsters. That's bananas, dude. That's so bananas. So I would assume that this is the Captain America mech, and to the right would probably I would assume maybe one of the Black Widow's mech or somebody else's mech. I'm not sure, but it seems like they're gonna have a team of mechs that then form to combine into one and give us a huge Voltron-like mech as they deal with a horde of Hulks. So that's actually kind of fascinating. I'm kind of curious to see where they go from here with that. They also talked a little bit about the Eyes of Wakanda. Producer Ryan Coogler and storyboard artist Todd Harris take the stage to promote the new Black Panther-centric series, Eyes of Wakanda. The idea for the show was first pitched during the production on Avengers Infinity War. So they've been thinking about this series for a while. Coogler then proceeded to call Harris one of the most incredible story artists on the planet. Harris joked around with the crowd about how everyone in Wakanda gets a six-pack and that even the cake baker can kill somebody, can kill anybody. The series is described as a 4-part story. Also teased was a glowing fist, possibly referencing the Iron Fist character. However, the specific character who would be the Iron Fist was not confirmed. They also announced a new character named Nani, being introduced via D23 exclusive footage. So I think we have heard tidbits of information about that before, about the idea that they are going to have um, Iron Fist in here, and also the idea that this is going to be focusing on like different time periods of past Black Panthers. So I am kind of fascinated with the idea, especially that it is a four part story. So I'm assuming this is very much a limited run. Comicbook.com says Eyes of Wakanda will be a 4-part event series, expanding the mythos of Wakanda across history. The series came to life while on set for the first Black Panther. The show is building backwards from the existing framework of the movies. There's intersection points throughout history. Iron Fist will be in the show. The series is set throughout history to have a new storytelling opportunities. The War Dogs will play a role. The animation style came from contemporary African American artists as well as Dean Cornwell, and they wanted a hand painted feel. It might introduce new characters into the MCU, including Wakanda's disruptors, and a major one being Nami. Footage plays showing Nami fighting various armies across a horde of boats. I kind of dig that idea. The, contemporary African American artist wanted a hand painted sort of feel. One of the things that I have been asking for when it comes to Marvel animation is, while I dig what if animation, I definitely want to see different types of animation across the board. Like, one of the things that, while I like some of the Star Wars animation, a lot of it just seems very similar to me. Clone Wars feels like Rebels. Rebels looks like the Bad Batch. Like, it's all the same sort of production company. That's why I think I really appreciate things like Star Wars Visions, where you can get other animated producing companies to go ahead and certainly create. And so I like the idea that they're going outside the box for something like Eyes of Wakanda. Like, I don't know what um something like Marvel Zombies might feel like, but I have a feeling Marvel Zombies may kind of feel a little bit more like What If artwork style, and that I'm okay, because of the idea that they did give us a Marvel Zombies story from What If season 1, and I think that's probably going to be a continuation and built up off of it. But you look at something like Eyes of Wakanda, clearly is going to have a different animation style. Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is clearly going to have a different style. So I'm really glad to see that Marvel animation is really being very diverse in the type of art styles that they highlight. But I'm eager to find out more about this, especially who that Iron Fist is, because if anything, I would be kind of curious to see, like, if the Iron Fist that they use in the show is somebody that we may eventually get introduced to when it comes to live action. That I don't know, but we'll definitely have to see. But cool concept. Um, your friendly, let me see, I might return to that because I think that's the biggest piece of things that we'll talk about. So we'll talk about Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man last. Marvel Zombie closed out the Marvel animation panel. This is the only image I was able to find for Marvel Zombies, but according to this article from the Direct, it says Brad Winderbaum comes back on stage to share early information about Marvel Zombies. The series is described as a sequel to episode 5 of What If season 1, which also featured zombies. This will be a sequel to that episode, which is 4 episodes long, each episode serving as its own event. It is also confirmed to be rated TVMA. The show is described as hardcore, although it also is not coming out for a bit. It did say early footage from this series shows Wenwu, the Mandarin, and that Death Dealer from Shang-Chi and the Legends of the Ten Rings. Wenwu is seen jumping out of a helicopter with the 10 rings on his arm, and he saves both Shang-Chi and Katie. Shang-Chi and Katie still work as valets. Although Shang-Chi appears to be immediately bitten by a zombie, Wenwu then gives him the 10 rings to cut the bite off from taking over his body. Um, where did it go? There's also a 5-year time jump before Shang-Chi's arm is zombified under the 10 rings, although he is still human otherwise. He and Katie are leading the caravan in post-apocalyptic wasteland, giving off Mad Max vibes. I would assume that this is what he's referring to in the image here. You can see Shang-Chi in the middle. I don't know where Katie is. It doesn't look like her to the left of him. That almost looks like Miss Marvel, but maybe that is her. But if you look at Shang-Chi in the middle, you can see exactly where the 10 rings are and the idea of sort of like his zombie arm. But I would assume that this is the band of misfits, zombie misfits, if you will, that he's referring to. But I kind of dig this. I do like the idea that they're going to be kind of like each episode is going to be sort of like its own event. That's actually pretty appealing to me. Another limited series run, it feels like. They say that it is 4 episodes long. So that kind of goes right there with what they just talked about when it comes to Eyes of Wakanda. That was going to be a 4-part or a 6-part episode series as well. So yeah, we are getting sort of like these event level sort of animated stuff, which I don't mind. I don't mind sort of one-offs. I mean, I appreciate What If having as long as a run as it certainly did in 3 seasons, and I do like long running animated shows. So hopefully something like Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man might be sort of that next series to be have countless seasons towards it. But the idea of doing things for animation as event series kind of works for me. I kind of dig that idea, especially like Marvel Zombies. Not to say that you can't continue to do more seasons of Marvel Zombies, but the fact that each episode is kind of going to be its own event and be rated TVMA, I would be curious as to one, how long are these episodes going to be? Are they going to be your traditional 30-minute episodes like we've had for What If? Just like if it is its own event, I when they reference it as its own event, I kind of would like it to be like an hour long animated or 45 minutes at least. But who knows? I'm not sure how it's going to turn out, but I am glad that they're building off of the story in which where they left us at when it comes to season 1 of What If. Um and then last but not least, let us get into Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. This was revealed to us. This artwork was revealed to us at the convention. Big fan of this. I think one of the things that one, I'm a big fan of the art style in here. This very much feels like classic Steve Ditko to me a little bit. Just like I'm literally open up a 1960s issue of the Amazing Spider-Man. Those are just the vibes that I get. It just feels like very old school animation style, and it works. But just looking at the vastness of characters in here, just again reminds me of classic Spider-Man. I think what has always made Spider-Man successful is the idea of his supporting cast. Whether that be focusing on his high school friends, focusing on the people that he works and interacts with at the Daily Bugle, his vast array of rogues gallery, the huge amount of sort of superhero team ups that he tends to have, or the people that he gets, that he connects himself so closely with, whether that be Johnny Storm, Iron Man, Doctor Strange, Daredevil, right? Like these are all prominent characters um that he's kind of grown up around and being a hero around since the early iterations of Peter Parker as Spider-Man. And so the idea that they made a poster sort of this big highlighting all these supporting characters just goes to show you just how meaningful I think supporting characters really are when it comes to the world of Spider-Man. So I'm really fascinated to kind of see what this ends up becoming. Let me see if I can try and pull up give me a minute here, guys. My system wants to be difficult right now. I want to try and close down some things here. Okay, there we go. All right, so they gave fans a sneak peek at Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. The show writer is Jeff Trammell. He says the show will also see the team to the show will also allow the team to really dig into who Peter is as fans see how that affects who Spider-Man becomes. An undisclosed horn symbiote will also be included opposite the web slinger. Peter Parker actor Hudson Thames, who returns from What If, takes the stage to address the crowd about his new show. Interesting. It does say an undisclosed horn symbiote will also be included opposite the web slinger. If you look at the picture here, you can kind of see him in the very far right corner. It looks like a some type of like Venom symbiote, but you can definitely tell in that image. It says, dang it, I'm trying to, my screen keeps jumping up and down for me. So the voice actor Hudson Thames, who played Peter Parker and What If, is coming back to do the voice for Peter here. Additionally, Oscar nominee Coleman Domingo joins Thames in front of the crowd as he's introduced as the show's Norman Osborn. That's right, we got ourselves a Norman Osborn here. He's going to be here as well. The actor describes Osborn as the ultimate supervillain. Osborn is said to have good intentions, although the methods he tries to share with Peter Parker won't work out in everybody's best interest. There is actually, let me go ahead and pull this up here for you guys. I'm kind of jumping around to other tabs that I had because there's some other information for you guys that I wanted to try and highlight. I'm going to come back to this, but Coleman Domingo was at D23 as well. Let me share this with you guys. We got some audio here for you guys to certainly listen to. Breaking Academy Award nominee Coleman Domingo is voicing Norman Osborn. That's him right there. He probably looks kind of familiar to some of you. I wonder if he's going to talk about it. This video is about 1 minute and 45 seconds long. Let me see if it'll play for me, though. Okay, here we go. Let's check this out.
They're here today. Please welcome Hudson Thames, voice of Peter Parker, a.k.a. Spider-Man, and Academy Award nominee Coleman Domingo, the voice of Norman Osborn. What's up, guys? How you guys doing? Hello! Coleman, my friend, you've been open about wanting to be a Marvel villain for a while now.
Yeah.
Woo, welcome.
Thank you.
What drew you to the role of Norman Osborn specifically?
Specifically, he is the ultimate supervillain. And also, I'm falling into the footsteps of someone like Willem Dafoe. I mean, good. I mean, right? I mean, and what this man has written is something so interesting when it comes to origin stories. To look at what a person's purpose was and what they were trying to do, and then see them actually fall, grace, when it comes to grace, or excel into supervillain territory. I have no idea. It all depends on the lens that you're looking from.
It sounds like you were kind of familiar with this character before you became it.
Oh yeah, a little bit.
How much did you know about Norman Osborn?
Not a lot. I just loved it. I don't know why I've been drawn to the villains. I don't know what that says about me. I think I'm a good human being, but I do believe that everyone has the power to turn in some way, shape, or form. If you weren't given enough hugs, enough love, enough support, you can go to the dark side. So I feel like all the villains I've been strangely attracted to, and so to become a part of the Marvel universe as Norman Osborn means everything to me, especially with this guy.
Likewise.
That's pretty cool to me, man. I always like hearing how these actors find themselves in these characters a little bit. The idea of how Coleman Domingo talks about what drew him to the character, and it's kind of one of those things that we've heard a lot of people say, right? Like, it really depends on your perspective in regards to how you view some of these characters. Clearly the villains usually always think that they're the good guys or have the best intentions, and sort of the way that they execute it tends to fall into that realm of villainous. I do love this image that they released too. This just reminds me very much of Captain America Civil War, where we got the opportunity to see Peter Parker come into the house, and Tony Stark is the one sitting down with Aunt May. And yet here we have sort of like a what if scenario, if you will, where this is Norman Osborn seemingly maybe introducing himself to Peter for the first time. It does say new footage is shown for Spider-Man, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, and featuring Doctor Strange opening a portal and dropping a horn-bugged like bipedal symbiote, which is black and blue. Strange is also seen fighting the symbiote as Peter falls through the portal, although he appears to not have his powers yet. This is potentially Peter's origin story in the series. So this could potentially be his origin story in the series as well. Strange then pulls the symbiote back into the portal after a spider falls on Peter, biting him as he speaks to Nico Minoru. Fans then see a new show intro utilizing the remix of classic Spider-Man theme songs, along with a splash page recreating the original comic book. Spidey takes on two thugs with impressive tech, a man with boots making him super fast, and a woman with gauntlets. Osborn dishes strategic advice to Peter over a communication device. The cast then leaves the stage as fans wait for what's coming next. So they talked a little bit about some of these characters, but I really dig the art style in here. Comicbook.com's article says the show gets the opportunity to explore who Peter is and how that impacts who Spider-Man becomes. They pay homage to classic comics and the previous animated series and films, and it's a Spider-Man that feels like the one you know, but not the one you might expect. A huge spread of characters is shown, which we just highlighted. It says Domingo was drawn to the villain archetype and following in the footsteps of William Dafoe, which we just certainly heard. Thames had no idea he was going to voice Spider-Man in a long-term context. Norman is mentoring Peter. Peter is a little less trusting, but respects him. Trammell says Norman's methods might not work out in everybody's best interest. Thames resonated with the coming-of-age story, is impressed with how modern yet quintessential the show feels. Footage is shown of Peter arriving at high school, immediately getting attacked by Venom. Doctor Strange intervenes. Peter saves and meets Nico Minoru as he gets bit by a spider and then passes out. So it definitely looks like they're taking certainly their own liberties in regards to sort of the origin story that they are creating here for Peter Parker and Spider-Man. So it definitely does feel like, one, this definitely confirms to me, and I think they've talked about this before, that no, this is not part of the MCU, that this almost does feel like in its own sense, sort of like another what if story. Clearly hearkening on to what made Spider-Man so great from the classic 1960s and drawing inspiration from there. Like he says, it's a Peter Parker that you probably think you know, but maybe from a different point of view or shown to you completely differently. So I am fascinated in the idea of like how Peter gets his powers, the idea that a spider falls out of this portal that Doctor Strange is fighting this symbiote with. It makes me wonder like what world is on that other side over there, and what sort of like how different is this spider that maybe bit Peter Parker compared to the one that we know from the comic books also. So look, I'm gonna give this one certainly a try. It looks good. I like what I'm hearing. Definitely different. Maybe not necessarily what I uh quite expected from this series, but one that feels like it's taken some pretty bold choices in regards to bringing us a new tale, something that probably feels significantly different. I mean, look, we've had several of the animated Spider-Man shows all feel the same in the death of Uncle Ben, how Peter winds up getting his abilities. I do like the idea that the recent trilogy for Spider-Man really gave us a different route in regards to the Uncle Ben, Aunt May sort of dynamic a little bit, with Aunt May being the one to deliver the "with great power comes great responsibility" line, right? So they definitely understand the idea of like taking some liberties here and there with Peter's origin story, but this feels a little more Elseworldsy to me, but not as massively Elseworlds as I think they probably could have gone with it, if that makes sense. For those of you who are wondering who Nico Minoru is, she was from the, I believe, the Runaway series, according to this picture here as well. So I would assume that she probably knows Doctor Strange, probably works in that world of the supernatural as well. But what are you guys saying about this? What are you guys saying about some of the stuff that we highlighted here for the animation? Marcelino says some people aren't a fan of What If because of the missed potential. Rather than focus on what if the other half were snapped away, they instead made fan fiction Marvel. Well, one, I don't know. I mean, people can get upset that they're rather than focusing on what if the other half were snapped away. I mean, look, that if people want their own potential storylines, that's cool, but that's not what the series is. So, like, they're technically really disappointing their own selves. Like, sure, could they have come up with other storylines? Cool, but like nobody ever said, "Hey, the what if story is going to focus on the people that were snapped away." So they're kind of creating this unrealistic expectation for the show that never mentioned that that's how the story was going to go in the first place. Instead, they made fan fiction Marvel. Yeah, What If is literally fan fiction Marvel. Like, that is literally the whole entire point of What If is. So I don't know if these people were never comic book fans, didn't know the concept of what if was certainly before, but that's literally what if is. It's like fan fiction stories of what if these characters were other places. So if people are getting mad because they didn't deal with the what happened to the other half of people, that's your own expectations, bro. If people can't look past their own expectations and just enjoy what's kind of given to them, and then constructive criticize what's being presented in front of them, that's their problem, bro. Like, I don't know what to tell them, Marcelino. Also, whenever the stories do get interesting, they are cut off because of the runtime. To be fair, yeah, some of the episodes are cut off due to runtime, but these stories are placed in such a way that there is an overall arc here. Despite that each episode certainly has the potential of being its own standalone episode, there are also breadcrumbs that will eventually lead, maybe not necessarily into the very next episode, but there is usually a payoff for it in like the next two to three episodes. And the one thing that I personally really enjoy about What If is that by the time you get to the end of the season, there is a culmination of quite a few of these stories that have kind of been like laid the groundwork in the beginning part of the season to have that huge payoff. So while they are very anthology like in their own sense of like being a standalone episode, they do end up connecting to an overall bigger arc for somebody like the Watcher and whatever the season finale is going to be. They did that with season 1, they did that with season 2, and I think it's actually a level of storytelling I think really does pay off well. So I don't have a problem with the runtime because I know it's each episode builds upon the other in its own way. Marcelino says at one point there were rumors that Coleman Domingo would play the new Kang, but those never came true. Caleb, what's up, Caleb? Good to see you in here, man. This is last night was a bit of a bummer games wise. People kept hyping up the experiences showcase and saying it was going to have a bunch of game reveals when all we got was Fortnite stuff. That's a little bit of a bummer. I don't play Fortnite, so that is a little bit of a bummer. That's probably one of the reasons why we only wanted to focus on the live action and animation side of Disney. Not to say that we don't play video games around here. I know Indy and Stuart are big video game heads, but I didn't, I don't play video games like that so much. So I don't know if I had any expectations for the games panel, but that's a bummer, Caleb. I'm sorry it didn't meet people's expectations. Spoiler: Coleman Domingo was great in Fear the Walking Dead. Yes, the 1.5 seasons of the show that I watched, I did like his character, but his character should have died because all he did was backstab everyone but survive till the very end, which I think was unfair. Sometimes you got to play that game right, Marcelino. Life ain't fair, bruh. Life ain't fair. But yeah, no, I totally get you. Yeah, I finished Fear the Walking Dead, but I did like him in the series and the parts of the series I watched. Ram Jam. Interestingly, Marvel publisher Martin Goodman had very little faith in the idea of a teen superhero. Now look where Spider-Man is today. Yeah, absolutely. Sam, Ironheart series, can't wait for a Marvel villain called the Hood. Yeah, I'll probably talk. I'll get back to that one, Sam, after we highlight the animated stuff. I wonder, since this animated series is MCU adjacent, does this mean if they do an MCU Green Goblin, will he be played by a black actor? That's a good question, Caleb. I don't know. We already I can't say we got a different universe's Green Goblin in our world. I am kind of curious if they would focus on another Green Goblin or who they would introduce us as Norman Osborn. You might be onto something. It might I don't know if they're gonna get a Coleman Domingo to do the actually be Norman Osborn in a Marvel movie, but we have yet to be introduced to a Norman Osborn in the MCU. So you might be right, Caleb. You might be right. The most talented man in the world. What's up, man? Appreciate the compliment on the hairdo. Sam says, do you remember a Marvel animation called Monkey King? Oh, Hit Monkey. Yes, Hit Monkey. Yeah, aren't they doing another season of Hit Monkey, if I'm not mistaken? Caleb says, I love the art style. Feels very much like it's from a Stan Lee Steve Ditko era. I'm assuming you're talking about the Spider-Man, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man stuff. Yeah, I agree. Those are definitely the vibes that I get when I look at this. Is Steve Ditko sort of artwork from the classic Amazing Spider-Man run, and so I think that's really what appeals to me the most, honestly. But yeah, man, that is in fact the Marvel animation details that we have for you guys today. I'm kind of looking forward to a lot of these. I truly am. Again, I'm a little bit bummed that What If Season 3 is going to be the culmination of all of it, but they've had some really great proper storytelling with some fascinating arcs for not only the Watcher but also Agent Carter. So yeah, I'm eager to see how that turns out. I think it's fascinating that Marvel Zombies is going to be a 4-part sort of event series. That seems kind of promising, keeping the storyline tight, but clearly with an end focus in mind. X-Men 97. Look, I'm always going to be hyped for X-Men 97. I think the idea of them getting new costumes sounds pretty fire. Although, I was a big fan of the season finale of X-Men 97 with the giant size X-Men sort of 90s comic book costumes. I was kind of hoping that season 2 they would rock those a little bit more, but I'm certainly not complaining, especially if we're going to get a Grant Morrison sort of run of that comic in animation form. And then yeah, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is calling my name. I don't know if they gave an announcement as to when it's being released yet or not. I'll have to look that up, but overall I thought they had a pretty good panel. I'm just a little bit bummed that they didn't release some of the footage that they had in store to the public. Honestly, I would like to see some of these sizzle reels. But going back to what Sam says, the Ironheart series, I can't wait for a Marvel villain called the Hood. So at D23, they did drop the trailer for Ironheart, or at least a first look sizzle reel for Ironheart. You could probably find it on Twitter. I don't know if Marvel Studios has taken down like any leaks from D23 because there's a bunch of them. You can find probably the Daredevil Born Again stuff up there. Andor stuff was posted. The Mandalorian and Grogu leaked video was posted up there. You can find a lot of the stuff that was shown at D23 on Twitter right now. Marvel and Disney have not taken action to have that stuff removed, but they did showcase the Ironheart series. And I'm still in limbo with this show. I didn't know what to expect from this show, but the first look of this series is not quite what I expected it to be. The new suit looks cool. She does have a brand new suit. Anthony Ramos looks great. It does feel like there's a little bit of a tech versus magic and some supernatural aspects behind it in here. But this whole notion of like Riri Williams possibly getting expelled from MIT, her having to like find money and funds to either continue her time in school or at least to finish building her suit and going to like these extreme lengths to kind of do it in the sense of like becoming a part of a gang and robbing people. It just feels like out of left field after her incredible heroics in Wakanda Forever. It just feels like an interesting like character diversion to kind of go down. I don't know if it's written by Ryan Coogler or if he was like I believe he's attached to it, maybe as like an executive producer. First impressions just kind of leave me still in limbo. I don't know how to feel about Ironheart. I don't think I have any level outside of seeing Anthony Ramos as the Hood. I don't know if I have any excitement for Ironheart, unfortunately. And so I am going to have to see more from it. I didn't care for the musical soundtrack attached to it either. I think that probably didn't sit well with me also. So I don't know. I'm just I don't have any level of expectation for Ironheart. I'm going to see what they do, but I am glad that you seemingly are hyped for it, Sam, for sure. But yeah, guys, let me know your thoughts in regards to the Marvel animation panel. What series out of all these are you really looking forward to the most? I definitely want to know your guys' thoughts in the comment section box below. And going from Marvel Animation, let's go ahead and dive into Marvel Cinematic Universe. For those of you who did not have the opportunity to see Deadpool and Wolverine yet, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. This is going to be, at least the next topic that we talk about is going to be quite spoiler heavy. So let me just pull up this banner now. So again, if you have not seen Deadpool and Wolverine, you might want to exit, come back in about 10-15 minutes or so, where we're going to dive into the following topic. But let's go ahead and get into this Deadpool and Wolverine discussion here, as Channing Tatum is officially back in the news. If you didn't have the opportunity to see Deadpool and Wolverine, Channing Tatum, in fact, I don't want to say returns, but makes his debut as Gambit. He has been pushing to be Gambit for quite some time, as far back as like one of the San Diego Comic-Cons from like maybe 10 years ago or so. I don't know how long ago it was. Maybe they were hyping up Logan at the time. Maybe they were hyping up the new upcoming like X-Men Dark Phoenix movie or whatever the case might have been. But at one point in time, he was potentially almost set to go ahead and get a Gambit film. He has been pushing very openly to play Gambit for quite some time. I think he might have even been on stage at San Diego Comic-Con and took a photo with like the gigantic like X-Men cast that was certainly there. So it seemed as though he might have been potentially in talks to be Gambit at some particular point in time, but then the acquisition and merger with Disney happened, and that kind of fell through. So this idea of Channing Tatum as Gambit just kind of felt like sat in limbo and never came to fruition. But leave it up to Ryan Reynolds, so who's always as creative as they come, to go ahead and bring him into the Deadpool and Wolverine movie. And he was certainly not alone, as they got Jennifer Garner to come back as Elektra. Wesley Snipes reprised his role as Blade, the only Blade to this date that we still have, despite the idea that Mahershala Ali has been attached to this project since for like 5 years now. The fact that Wesley Snipes beat this man back to the big screen as Blade just says everything that I certainly need to know. And then, of course, we had Daphne Keene coming back to go ahead and play Laura, aka X-23, which she was remarkable in Deadpool and Wolverine. I really enjoyed all her sequences here with Hugh Jackman. But Channing Tatum certainly did his damn thing when it comes to Gambit. I absolutely love the costume that they wind up creating for him. So incredibly accurate and fresh off of something like X-Men 97. I think a lot of people were certainly happy to see Gambit in live action. The only terrible thing I think about Channing Tatum as Gambit had to be his accent. But after being in Deadpool and Wolverine, it certainly seems as though he's kind of hopeful for maybe finally getting his Gambit movie. This comes to us from Variety.com. Channing Tatum hopes Deadpool and Wolverine Gambit cameo leads to a standalone movie. He says, I pray to God. So he definitely wants to see himself back on the big screen. It says, will Channing Tatum finally get his wish to star in a Gambit movie? He says, I sure hope so. He told me at Thursday's premiere of Blink Twice. I do want to see Blink Twice. From your mouths to God's ears, right into existence, my friend, please. Tatum's newfound faith follows his surprise cameos as the X-Men mutant in Deadpool and Wolverine. Tatum and his producer partner, Reed Caroline, spent 4 years developing a standalone Gambit film, but the movie died when Disney acquired it back in 2019. He says, yes, he's already told Marvel he still wants to make it happen. Of course, I've said that. I've been saying that I want that for the last 10 years. It's in Bob Iger and Kevin Feige's hands. I pray to God. Tatum then thanked Ryan Reynolds in his Instagram post for bringing his Gambit to life. I thought I had lost Gambit forever, but Ryan Reynolds fought for me and Gambit. He also says, I owe... where'd he go? It says, I will owe him probably forever because I'm not sure how I could ever do something that would be equal to what this has meant to me. I love you, buddy, is what Channing Tatum said to Ryan Reynolds. Look, guys, I kind of want to see Deadpool and Wolverine again to see how I truly feel about Channing Tatum as Deadpool. I mean, as Gambit. You know, I think from an action point of view, he nails it. I don't know how old Channing Tatum is as of now, but you know, he's certainly clearly has got the movement and the ability to pull off the role still. You know, I don't know if I can truly handle his accent for a full movie, but yeah, it kind of worked for Deadpool and Wolverine, right? Because you know, you don't necessarily take Deadpool and Wolverine so serious as a film. So despite Channing Tatum as Gambit looking serious and being a badass when it comes to fighting and the card throwing and the flipping that he winds up doing, like and using his bow staff and stuff, visually it looked absolutely great. But it did have sort of that Ryan Reynolds feel to it that despite Channing Tatum looking great as Gambit, when he opens his mouth, you can't you can't help but laugh in regards to how he delivers his lines. And I just don't know if that is something that I can deal with for another like hour and a half or another full 2 hours. You know, I don't know if that would land as something that would work for me as a Gambit film. So look, do I think Gambit is somebody that can definitely be recast down the line? Absolutely. I certainly do hope that they eventually do recast him, but I don't know if we need a Channing Tatum as Gambit solo movie. If anything, if they can, you know, I'm under the impression that after Deadpool and Wolverine, that based off of the big smoke monster in this world that wind up attacking Cassandra Nova's base. I would assume that Channing Tatum's Gambit, along with Jennifer Garner's Elektra and Wesley Snipes' Blade, kind of all met their fate and perished in here. But if there is a way that they can bring him back for, say, some of the upcoming Avenger films, utilizing the multiverse a little bit more, I would be open to that. I would definitely be open to see Channing Tatum return as Gambit in, say, like a Secret Wars, or, you know, like this current iteration of the MCU that we see. But once we actually maybe reboot things after Secret Wars, if they change their focus on something like Battle World, or really start going into, here's our new team of X-Men now that we've finished up this multiverse saga, then I would probably want somebody else to play the Gambit character, unless Channing really goes to like an accent school and properly learns it. Then maybe I would be open to it. But look, he got his Gambit role that he wanted. I wouldn't mind him getting at least one or two more opportunities in an upcoming multiverse story for him to do that role. But as far as him leading his own standalone movie, no, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I may be the only person that feels that way, but I would be kind of curious to know what you guys think. Ram Jam says he's 44 years old, so he's definitely getting up there. And look, I'm 40, I'm 41, I'm about to be 42 this year. I definitely don't move like Channing Tatum, so I'm not gonna bust on this guy, because he definitely delivered in that regards. Like, he's still certainly got it, and capable of pulling off a Gambit for sure. Like, for me, the biggest thing is just his his accent, to be quite frank with you. Sam says, yeah, Channing Tatum was brilliant as Gambit, and Taylor Kitsch was awesome character as well in Origins Wolverine. Marceline says, from what I heard, people hated Taylor Kitsch's Gambit. I barely remember Origins. I don't know if I will say, like, from um like a visual appeal of Taylor Kitsch's Gambit, I think he definitely could have pulled off that role brilliantly if it was handled better. But God knows that Wolverine Origins movie was not handled well at all. I mean, just look at their version of Deadpool character. So but then again, like, I barely remember that movie. I just remember Taylor Kitsch sitting at a poker table playing cards as Gambit, and I was like, oh, he kind of looks like him. But that's pretty much all that I remember. Ram Jam says, yeah, I'm not sold yet on Channing playing Gambit. Yeah, like, I don't mind him playing Gambit in like this multiverse world that we're kind of playing in, but the idea of him having his own standalone movie, no, I personally would like somebody else too. But again, that's not taking anything away from what Channing Tatum did as Gambit in Deadpool and Wolverine. I thought he was really great for that particular part, and the idea that somebody like Ron Reynolds never forgot him and gave him that opportunity that he's been asking for. Like, he's literally gonna have pictures of himself in Gambit costume on the big screen for the rest of his life. Like, he legit did it. And I think as an actor, that's probably all that he could probably really ask for. It doesn't look like he's like begging for it, but he's at least putting in the idea out there in the world of like, please, can I get a standalone movie? Like he said, it's up to Bob Iger and Kevin Feige at this particular point in time. But I think if he doesn't get the standalone movie, I don't see how Channing Tatum could be disappointed in that idea, because he has officially portrayed that role as Gambit, and I thought he did a hell of a job. I just don't know if I want to see it as a standalone movie with him. But yeah, he had a great outing, I thought, and the costume was fucking spot on too, man. I mean, look at this thing, look at this thing, straight out of an animated series, bro. I absolutely loved it. So yeah, Channing Tatum did his damn thing for sure. Definitely looked the part. So congratulations to him, man. We'll see what the future holds for his character, and if he eventually, him or if any of these other characters wind up coming back. But with that out of the way, first off, do I have any? I don't got any more coffee, but from Marvel to DC, we're gonna get into our third story for you guys today. We got some rumors, y'all. Um, we talked about, and I believe we got this a couple of weeks ago. We put out a rumor. We said a grain of salt at the time from a website by the name of was it Nexus Point News? Yes, Nexus Point News. Um, Talking about Kumail Nanjiani playing Booster Gold. It was just an exclusive report for them as a rumor. They seemingly confirmed it, but nobody else certainly did, which was fascinating because Kumail, along with James Gunn, never came out and shot it down. And then I think like a week or two after that Booster Gold news or rumor came out, I believe somebody stated that Jolo Maraduena at the Galaxy Con confirmed that Kumail Nanjiani was going to be playing Booster Gold. So it seems as though Nexus Point News might be onto something. Because again, James Gunn, who is usually quick to shoot down things that are not true, has not come out and mentioned anything about it. If I'm mistaken, if I'm wrong, somebody point me in that direction. But I don't believe he has. And so Nexus Point News is back this week with another rumor, as they're pushing it as an exclusive, that we could potentially have a Deadman animated series possibly being developed, it being very much in early development. And what I find fascinating about this particular story is that there is a connection piece here that has been teased previously that this could in fact be right. Um, and I say that in the sense of because months ago, it might have been March of this year. I'll have to find the timestamp, but James Gunn did tease Deadman at one point in time on his Instagram. And James Gunn likes to just drop these images. We've seen him drop an image of Kingdom Come once. He also dropped an image of the Terrifics that was focusing on Mr. Terrific, Plastic Man, Metamorpho, and others. And now back in March, he did drop this image of Deadman. And so people are like, oh, is a Deadman project coming? Is a Deadman project coming? I think we highlighted it at one point in time when he did drop this, maybe in our honorable mentions segment. Because there is also a Swamp Thing movie certainly in development. We have been wondering if he was going to kind of build off of Swamp Thing with something like a Deadman here potentially for a Justice League Dark. That certainly hasn't been confirmed. But James Gunn, when he drops things, it's usually for a reason. And so the fact that we have ourselves a brand new rumor here this week of a Deadman animated series, there might be some inkling of truth here, or could this just be them trying to throw something against the wall like a spaghetti rumor to see if it certainly sticks based off of what James Gunn has kind of teased before? But there might be something here, y'all. So let's go ahead and dive into this. This comes to us again from Nexus Point News. I find myself kind of paying a little bit more attention to their bits of information they drop, but this was from 3 days ago. Exclusive Deadman animated series in early development at DC Studios for the DCU. As promised by DC CEO James Gunn, more animated projects will be underway following Creature Commandos. According to our sources, we can exclusively report that one of these will be an animated series centered on the character Deadman. DC Animation's Deadman series is in early development, currently with no writers or scripts in place, and has yet to receive the green light. So this is super early development, okay? This is the idea that, like, I don't even know if James Gunn would even talk about this at this point in time, but it clearly is something that was on James Gunn's mind back in March because he posted an image of Deadman. Now, does that mean that he's emphasizing, hey, we're going to do an animated version of it? No. Could it be a live action series or movie? Possibly. Could it still be teasing a potential, Justice League Dark? Possibly. So the idea that they're saying it's in early development means, like, to me, it just feels like it's an idea that James Gunn has, but clearly has no writers nor scripts in place. So it's not even like a first draft of a script. Maybe just the concept alone is certainly there. Like that's how they want to utilize this character. For those of you who don't know, this is the character Deadman was created back in 1967. He was originally a trapeze artist named Boston Brand who used the stage name Deadman during his performances. During the performance, Brand was murdered and his spirit is chosen by the goddess Ramakrishna to avenge his own death. Although he is unable to be seen or speak to the living, he has the ability to possess living beings and communicate to the living through his host bodies. Over the years, Deadman has crossed over and interacted with several DC characters. He's been a central figure during the Blackest Night and Brightest Day storylines, and even brought back to life with the White Lantern ring. In similar vein to Creature Commandos, it's expected that whoever is cast as the voice of Deadman will reprise the role in future live-action projects within the DCU. The same is expected for the multiple of other animated DCU projects currently being in development for the franchise's 8-year plan. So the story is further is in further development here. So yeah, again, this is when they say early development, they mean early development. So again, I would certainly take this as a grain of salt. While James Gunn has mentioned he wants to do other animated stuff opposite of that of Creature Commandos, the fact that there's no writers, no scripts in place, James Gunn having teased wanting to do something with Deadman, it feels like that idea and concept is out there. Whether or not that ends up turning into an animated series or something live action, it doesn't necessarily seem as though that is in fact confirmed. But Nexus Point News definitely wants us to know there is something coming revolving around Deadman. So we'll definitely have to see how that goes. But I kind of dig this idea. I personally do. Again, not much to really talk about in the sense of like, what they have in place for it. But I do hope. Oh, well, first off, let me just talk about the idea of it being animated. One, as long as it's a different animation style, I think, than Creature Commandos, I'll be cool with it. The something about the idea of him being sort of like this spirit that people can't necessarily see or interact with, but he can possess bodies. I do hope that it is presented in a really artsy sort of artistic way. I kind of want to see the emotional turmoil and the struggle of Boston Brand having been killed and murdered on the job, and just like how he deals with the idea of not being able to no longer interact with the living anymore, and just some of that turmoil that kind of subsides in him. Like I would love to see sequences of literally like Deadman just on a completely black screen, just talking to himself or really dealing with a lot of his struggles that he's dealing with. So I do think that there's a really fun sort of artistic nature to a Deadman animated series you can really tackle if done right. If something like Eyes of Wakanda want to go ahead and get contemporary African American artists, maybe have things feel a little bit more hand painted. I do want to see DC Studios, even their animation realm, kind of go a little bit more outside the box with their choice of animation for something like Deadman, instead of it just feeling like a Creature Commandos sequel, by utilizing the same animation production company. So I would like to see them kind of go outside of the box and dive into an art style that is a little bit more on the horror elements of things, or how it's kind of presented. So we'll see what happens here. But again, we got Sandman, or I should say we got Swamp Thing that's going to be in development from James Mangold, that's going to be doing the Swamp Thing movie. The idea of potentially giving us Deadman animated series. And as the article did point out, if you are a voice actor for an animated series in the DCU, they probably will utilize you in live action. So we technically would then have two members presented to us of something like a Justice League Dark. And so I kind of would like to see other characters fleshed out a little bit more. I definitely want a Zatanna film or a Zatanna series at some point in time. I feel like we've had several iterations of John Constantine, but if something like a Dark Justice League is, or Justice League Dark is something that they kind of, the route that they kind of want to go down. Recasting and bringing in a John Constantine, I think, would be pretty interesting. But we may have the early beginnings here of a Justice League Dark with Swamp Thing and a potential Deadman animated series. So we'll see, but we'll definitely keep you posted if we get any further development in regards to that story. Indy, what's up, Indy? Good to see you, man. Deadman is a great character. Yeah, I truly agree. I certainly want to see. I think it's a great swing. Leave it up to James Gunn again to pick certain characters to kind of highlight them. And I definitely do think somebody like Deadman deserves a much bigger, a much bigger sort of place among the DCU than he's kind of gotten in the past a little bit. Marsley says, if true, I wonder if it will explore more of the Justice League Dark side of the universe. I definitely got to think so. I saw someone suggest a Justice League Dark trilogy that's done with 3 standalone movies that leads up to a Justice Dark movie. I don't know which direction James Gunn is going to be going. The idea of 3 standalone Justice League Dark trilogies, I feel like that's maybe getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. I do wonder if we're going to get a lot of standalone stuff. Like, will Superman get itself a sequel in like a chapter 2 of whatever it is that James Gunn is currently planning? Are we going to get a traditional Justice League film? There's talks of them doing a Teen Titans movie potentially as well. How would a Justice League Dark movie kind of fit into it? I think the idea of asking for a trilogy may be a little bit too much as of right now, but we'll have to see how it definitely plays out. Because I do think James Gunn certainly has a roadmap as to where he certainly wants to go. And we'll see if that leads us to something like a Justice Dark movie. Who certainly knows? But yeah, good imagination there for some of these people with these suggestions. But again, my thing would just be, we can have suggestions and we can have expectations. I just hope that if those are routes that James Gunn doesn't go down, if people will still be open-minded enough to enjoy the story that he is properly telling. I think sometimes we get in the way of our own expectations and what we want to see somebody do, and then when they don't do it, it's like we completely ignore, gotta crap over, their creative process of what they are creating. And so let's just sit back, let James Gunn cook. Let's find out what the overall big story of the DCU is going to be, because maybe he has no plans for a Justice Dark aspect whatsoever, but maybe he's got other plans that'll be even bigger. So we'll see. I wouldn't mind something like a 0-hour storyline to be like the big culmination of maybe one of these chapters or something like that for him. I don't know if we've ever seen a 0-hour kind of brought to animation or live action before, so we'll see. I mean, I feel like we do Crisis on Infinite Earths so many times, but I don't know if something like a 0-hour has ever been focused on. So we'll see. But yeah, guys, let me know your thoughts in regards to this exclusive rumor of a DCU Deadman animated series. Would you like to see one? Is there an art style out there that kind of jumps out to you that you would like to kind of see portrayed? How do you feel about the idea of the Deadman being brought to the DCU? Certainly go ahead and let me know your thoughts in the comment section box below. As we go from Marvel and DC, we're going to get into a brand, or I shouldn't say a brand new, but another popular franchise. And that would be none other than good old Keanu Reeves, John Wick, baby. That's right. John Wick is certainly back in the news. Look, guys, things didn't necessarily go very well for the Peacock television series, The Continental. I think it was a limited series event, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm not expecting a sequel or anything, but I don't necessarily know if The Continental got the best reviews in regards to it. I don't necessarily know if Chad Stileski or anybody really from John Wick franchise was kind of attached to it in that regards. Maybe that's why it felt the way that it certainly did. But that doesn't mean that they have decided not to continue pushing forward with the John Wick franchise. For those of you who know, we've got a John Wick movie titled, or a spin-off movie titled The Ballerina, played by Anna de Armas. She's going to be in her movie for The Ballerina. I believe John Wick, played by Keanu Reeves, might be in there. We also have a Donnie Yen led spin-off film from the John Wick. As you see Donnie Yen here to Keanu Reeves's right, he's going to be getting himself his own standalone movie, which I believe is being executive produced, if not directed or written, by Chad Stahelski, the mastermind behind the John Wick franchise. But now we have new word that not only do we have those two movies coming, but we seemingly might be having a sequel series coming directly from John Wick 4. This actually comes to us from Deadline.com. A John Wick 4 sequel series from Keanu Reeves and Chad Stahelski heats up the TV market. So it seems as though we're actually going to be getting into this world of John Wick once again, this time in the form of a sequel series. But for those of you who are worried, like, oh no, another series, is this going to be another Continental? Hey, check this out. It says Lionsgate is further expanding its John Wick universe with John Wick Under the High Table, an action series executive produced by the billion-dollar film franchise's star Keanu Reeves. So he's executive producing it, and director Chad Stahelski. Deadline has learned. Stahelski is also set to direct the pilot episode. So these two are very much hands-on with this project. Written by the Old Man co-creator Robert Levine, the story in John Wick The High Table picks up directly after the end of John Wick 4. John Wick has left the world of The High Table in a tenuous position, and a collection of new characters will look to make a name for themselves, while some of the franchise's stalwart characters remain committed to the old world order. So it feels very much like OGs versus new school. The description of John Wick, The High Table, which promises to combine new and old and thrust the Wick universe into a new age, indicates a mix of newly created and existing characters, an approach Lionsgate's previously used in the John Wick prequel limited series, The Continental. Stahelski, who in January signed a deal with Lionsgate to oversee creative on the John Wick franchise across film and TV and other media, is executive producing The High Table. Currently, Reeves is attached an executive producer with no acting component. He is said to be very hands-on with the project, which is being shopped in what is shaping up to be a competitive situation. And I can see why it's a competitive situation. I mean, the fact that John Wick has become a billion-dollar franchise, I think, speaks volumes in regards to just how this movie, especially after John Wick 1, when it was like a blip on people's radar, John Wick 2 came out and people were like, man, you really got to check out John Wick if you haven't seen the first John Wick movie. And then John Wick 3 came out, and it almost felt like it was a takeover of Keanu Reeves and this franchise. And then they wind up dropping John Wick 4. And mind you, each film, if I'm not mistaken, doing better and better and better at the box office. And so, the idea that now we're getting ourselves a continuation of this story, but in a television series, I think has got to be super appealing. When you see the amount of people that are gravitating towards this particular series, if I'm a streaming company, I want that franchise to be connected to me, because I just expect dollar signs and money certainly coming my way. And when you have somebody like Keanu Reeves attached to this, clearly wanting this to be successful. John Wick is his baby. Like, the last thing that he wants is a spinoff or a film within this particular world to fail, because if that fails and it undercuts what John Wick franchise means and does for the people, that's going to be pretty disappointing for Chad and Keanu. So the fact that they are fully invested, the both of them, in executive producing this, even Chad to the point of being directing the pilot for this series, to me is extremely promising, quite frankly. And I think too, I don't remember I don't remember. Let me see who. I'm gonna look up the Continental here real quick because I'm trying to figure out how connected Chad certainly was. Let's see. Because what some of the things that I have read is that he really had like little to do with this with this film itself. And so it does make me wonder, even the guy that played Winston in the original movies, he did not care for the Continental series like at all. And while I'm sure Chad probably gave the Continental people some advice, it does not seem as though Chad Stahelski had like had very it seems as though he had very little to do with the Continental. And so the idea that in this article, it mentions that in January he signed a deal with Lionsgate to oversee creative on John Wick franchises across film and TV and other media. That is probably the most important deal that Lionsgate has had this man sign, to be quite frank with you, because now kind of going forward, anything John Wick related has to get approved by this guy. So while it doesn't necessarily mean that it's all going to come from the mind of Chad Stahelski, he at least knows what works for this franchise and what people certainly want to see and what avenues this franchise should spin off into and kind of go down, right? So, um, to me, while the Continental wasn't successful, I don't necessarily know if that has any impact for me personally about how something like a John Wick sequel series will then do, because I'm now officially looking at them as two completely separate projects, because now I know Chad Stahelski is actually on board with this and other John Wick franchise movies and television spinoffs that are certainly yet to come. And so it's very much in relation to like how I feel about Lord and Miller from the Into the Spider-Verse, right? Like, while I don't necessarily care for Sony Spider-Man movies, um not not talking about their team up with Marvel, but like their standalone Sony picture Spider-Man character movies that they've done, I have not cared for them. But you tell me Lord and Miller are working on the Spider-Man animation side of things and television side of things. Yes, I'm going to be paying very much close attention and have a lot more faith in that, because I've seen just what the mind of Lord and Miller is capable of doing when it comes to Spider-Man content and projects, because of the fact that they're helming it. And so I trust them to do that. And I also trust Chad Stahelski, who has created this John Wick franchise along with Keanu Reeves, to make the best decisions and the best choices by this franchise to certainly make it succeed. So the Continental, I'm probably going to wipe my hands of that, and really, really look forward to John Wick 4, as it looks as though they're taking this franchise into a new and fresh path, as it seems as though they're going to be doing more of a old school versus new school tradition, as we get some newcomers and new characters to this particular world. So I love the investment that these two are making in Keanu and Chad, and I think we have something pretty exciting on our hands. So I think we got a lot coming out of. I do think that we have a lot coming out of the John Wick franchise, with the ballerina and the Donnie Yen movie, and now this. So if you're a John Wick fan, it's time to get hyped for sure, for sure. Marcelino says, I'm more interested in the John Wick movies, TV shows. I can do without. Yeah, some people don't necessarily care for the television show spin-off of things. So to certainly each their own. But I'm kind of pumped if they can make this certainly work. But yeah, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section box below. How do you guys feel about a John Wick 4 sequel series? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section box below. From that, we will move on to some television, more television for you guys, not from a big franchise, but a classic one that is actually a spinoff in his own right. We're going to get into some talk about A Different World. A Different World, I think, for me, is one of those shows that I remember watching as a kid. I don't know if I fully grasped everything about A Different World at the time. I knew it was a spinoff of The Cosby Show. Growing up as a kid, granted, I had no idea all the crap that Bill Cosby himself was certainly up to. And so as a kid, I really loved The Cosby Show. I always thought it was a delivered great messages for not just African Americans, but just for kids and just parents, certainly of all ages. It was The Cosby Show was one of those shows that it was legit a family time sort of television show that everybody could sit down and certainly watch. And it had a spin-off series by the name of A Different World that, if I'm not mistaken, I think followed one of the sisters from The Cosby Show as she went off into college. I don't know how, if she was in every season or not, but A Different World eventually started focusing on other main characters as the season certainly progressed. But it had to do with kids in college. And so, again, I probably was relatively young when A Different World kind of came out, but it was part of my, part of something that I watched or used to at least have on in the background, or like would come on after one of the shows that I would kind of watch. And it was almost, I don't want to say every day, but every week sort of part of my life. And so it seems as though they are potentially set to go ahead and make a sequel series surrounding this. So let me go ahead and bring this up. This is actually coming to us from deadline.com. Says A Different World sequel series with about Whitley and Dwayne's daughter from Felicia Pride is in the works over at Netflix. So they're set to go ahead and tackle A Different World sequel series. It says A Different World sequel series chronicling Dwayne and Whitley's daughter's time at Hillman College is in early development at Netflix, is what sources tell Deadline. The single cam half-hour comedy comes from writer executive Felicia Pride, who also works on Bel Air, which is the drama-focused series of the, I guess it's like a reboot series for the Fresh Prince of Bel Air. She also did Grey's Anatomy. And other executive producers. Netflix did decline to comment on this story, but a lot of the producers that are going to be on here also worked on the original hit NBC series, which was a spinoff of The Cosby Show and also ran for 6 seasons. So it had a really lengthy run. It was pretty impactful for the time period in which it was certainly around. And I do think that it is something important to have those people that were executive producers, or at least having all worked on the original, kind of coming back. I trying to remember this show. While I remember it was a half-hour comedy, I barely remember the idea that it was also a single cam. It kind of makes me want to go back and rewatch it and just kind of see how the camera pans from side to side, because they did have some pretty big set pieces, if I'm not mistaken. And so I got to think if it's single cam. And I think they might have recorded in front of a live studio audience also. I might be mistaken in that regards. Just to be able to like single cam stuff, to always remember not only just your lines, but like your spots on set. So when the camera comes to you, like you're kind of already in position. I can imagine that probably wasn't necessarily an easy way to film. But the fact that we are getting people back that worked on the original to do this makes me feel like it might still capture that same magic. It says A Different World followed Denise Huxtable, who was played by Lisa Bonet, and her new classmates at Hillman College, which was a fictional, historically black college, though Bonet exited after 1 season. See, that's why I thought. I was like, I don't think I remember Lisa Bonet being involved for a lot of the show, but she definitely was in the first season. She exited the show, and then the show continued with leading cast of Jasmine Guy, Kadeem Hardison, and others. The retooled second season continued to follow the students' lives with the love story between Guy's Whitley Gilbert and Hardison's Dwayne Wayne at the center. Though Whitley was adamant she didn't want children, she does discover she's pregnant in the episode When One Door Closes, in the penultimate episode of this series. And everyone is elated. However, things get somber when Dwayne reveals he's accepted a job in Japan where he and his wife will raise their family. A Different World. The sequel will center on the couple's youngest daughter, who is now also attending Hillman, is what sources say. While casting is yet to begin officially, we hear conversations with the original cast members have taken place regarding interest, and the availability and response has been positive. A continuation has been in various stages of development throughout the years, but was paused for multiple reasons, including the legal issues surrounding Bill Cosby, who was actually a creator of A Different World. So yeah, I can kind of I can kind of see the idea of like anything like even connected to Bill Cosby just kind of being completely shut down. Other notable A Different World alums include Marissa Tomei, who made her TV debut in season 1, and Jada Pinkett Smith. I do remember Jada being in there also. She started in the last 2 seasons early in her career. So look, Netflix is certainly no slouch when it comes to the idea of revisiting series, giving them reboots or retooling them for sequel series sort of thing. But this is one I'm actually really excited for. I was a big fan of Dwayne Wayne back in the day. There was, he was most notably known for having the glasses that like flipped up, just super nerdy guy. But this was like in the 90s, they always wore bright clothes, interesting patterns, interesting accessories, whether they be jewelries or glasses. But yeah, Dwayne was always known for the glasses that kind of flip up. And so I don't remember the season finale or anything like that. Again, this was years ago, back in the 90s for me. But so I didn't really remember the idea that him and his family went to Japan. So I will be interested if we do go to present day, if they all speak Japanese rather fluently. Maybe the move to Japan didn't necessarily work out, or maybe it did. How they went from Japan now back to the States in the sense of their daughter going to Hillman College for herself. I'm kind of interested to see the fact that a lot of these, we're clearly going to get brand new characters. They're probably going to be clearly brand new classmates for Whitley and Dwayne's daughter to certainly interact with. And I would be curious if any of these characters, since they have had pretty positive talks with the previous cast returning, if any of them became teachers or coaches or alumni that are still heavily influenced by this college. So I'm excited. I definitely would like to check this one out when it winds up dropping. Again, no release date. Sounds like it's still in relatively early development, but it seems as though Netflix is pushing forward with this one. So we'll definitely keep you guys posted. But I'm kind of looking forward to A Different World. It's just interesting to me. The past couple of weeks that we've done Hero Report, we had a lot of these popular Black television shows from the 90s kind of getting retooled and reworked. I think we just talked about Young Martin, the idea that Martin Lawrence is executive producing a brand new series for Martin, which is going to focus on him as a kid, but more modern day time and more of a drama series. I think of which is a little bit odd to me. I haven't cared how they've done Bel-Air, a more drama-centric series based off of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. When they first announced Young Martin, for some reason, my head went automatically to Everybody Hates Chris, sort of like a telling of Chris Rock's childhood, but from a comedic perspective and based off of the Martin show being comedic. I thought it would be really cool to have those elements of Everybody Hates Chris, but for like a young Martin, and get an opportunity to see how him and his friends kind of became buddies and connected at the hip sort of thing. But to kind of take it in a more dramatized route, I don't know how I feel about it, because I haven't been a big fan of the dramatized route for Bel-Air. But from Young Martin now to A Different World sequel series, a lot of these shows are coming back. Can I get a Living Single one now? I need me a Living Single reboot. I need me, or like a sequel series. I need me a Moesha sequel series or something. Can we get Brandy back as like a mom this time as Moesha? Like I kind of want to get all these shows back since we're bringing so many of these popular black television shows back, man. So we'll see what happens. But I just thought it was an interesting development that A Different World may be coming back this time to Netflix, man. So let me know your guys' thoughts if you guys have any connection to A Different World. Ramjam said, I love watching A Different World back in the day. Yeah, it was one of those shows that, like, I don't know if I sat down and watched it like on a weekly basis, like purposefully, or I just remember it coming on like after. It might have come on after the Cosby Show or another day during the week. I can't remember, but it was one of those shows that I it was always kind of it was kind of always on at any particular time for some reason. Always felt like. So I do remember watching quite a few of the episodes. Ramjim says, give me a Family Matters sequel series. Yes, look, man, I know the days of like sitcoms kind of might be over a little bit, but I would love a Family Matters sequel series. um it's just the idea of like family. And look, I don't know if family television was just more wholesome back in the day. TGIF was incredible because you had things like Full House, Step by Step, Family Matters, all of these family oriented television shows that you can sit down by the TV, eat your dinner, have laughs together, and legit would teach you great sort of lessons of the day and how to be good neighbors and how to be good family members. Like, I don't know if that's gotten too corny now these days, but it is something that I do think probably deserves some refocusing on. Or maybe we have television shows out there already like that, that I'm not necessarily aware of or don't personally follow myself. But the 90s were just different, man. The 90s were just different. And shows like A Different World, Family Matters, Living Single, Martin, all those shows I think were really impactful in that regards. And so, yeah, I would love to see things like that, to be quite honest with you. But so yeah, guys, let me know your thoughts. And then last but not least, before we get into your live viewer questions, we got one more topic as we're going to get into the Rings of Power. The Rings of Power is set to go ahead and drop, I believe, August 28th or 29th of this season. We've got season 2 that's going to be coming our way relatively soon here. And I need to start my rewatch of season 1 today, or at least beginning this week. And to be quite frank with you, when it comes to the Rings of Power, while my Twitter tends to be a cesspool of negativity these days. But one of the things, and I don't know if it's just my timeline, my algorithm, but I'm starting to see a lot of comments of people revisiting season 1 of the Rings of Power and walking away with like a completely different mindset. I've seen a couple, maybe 2 or 3 Twitter posts so far talking about the idea of like, one, I don't know what people were talking about. I don't know if I let people manipulate me with their negativity about this series, or made me think about this series in a completely different light, because I rewatched season 1 and I absolutely love it. Like, I feel like I'm seeing a lot of people revisiting the Rings of Power season 1 and coming and like walking away with a different perspective of it. Look, you're always going to have people hate on it, because I can tell you right now, I have a reel up. I have 2 reels up for the Rings of Power on our Facebook page. One that's the trailer for season 2, along with a behind the scenes sort of visual design and costume design featurette. And boy, can I tell you, while the reel has picked up traction and is doing numbers for my algorithm, a lot of the stuff has been super negative. Super negative. I'm talking like poop emojis, gifs of people throwing up. Like, people really want to ish on the show a lot. And so it hasn't messed my appeal or excitement level up for season 2, because personally for me, from a creative standpoint, season 2 looks incredible so far. And I definitely am really excited to go ahead and give season 1 a rewatch. Because while I personally enjoyed it, there's a part of me that thinks, now that I've seen some of the trailers for what season 2 was going to deliver, that I might actually even enjoy season 1 a little bit more. So if you have seen season 1 and you're still kind of on the fence about it, I say you and I together should do a rewatch before season 2. But as we get into season 2, we do have a brand new look here and some brand new details for the upcoming season, as Entertainment Weekly this week revealed to us more Hobbit-esque characters that are certainly set to be revealed. Well, we got introduced to the Harfoots in season 1. It looks as though we're going to be getting introduced to a brand new group of characters, very Hobbit-esque, called the Stores. The Stores, Stoors. Am I pronouncing that right? That's not stores. Stores, maybe stores. Like I think of floors, maybe stores, maybe stores. Let's go ahead and pull this up here. I'm gonna stop trying to pronounce this and butchering this damn name. But this comes to us from Entertainment Weekly. It says, meet the Stores or Stores. The Rings of Power Season 2 introduces a new Hobbit-esque set of characters. This is an exclusive to Entertainment Weekly. There's still no hobbits in the Rings of Power since the show is set in the Second Age of Middle-earth. The lovable Shire dwellers we know so well from Tolkien's original stories haven't quite come into being yet. But we do get to spend time with their ancestors, like the nomadic Harfoots, who were part of the action from the beginning of season 1. But as season 2 premieres August 29th on Prime, the show's primary Harfoot characters in Nori Brandyfoot and Poppy Proudfellow are exploring the desert region of Rhûn in the east of Middle-earth. There, they'll meet some distant cousins. These are the Stores, who predate the Hobbit-adjacent riverfolk. Unlike the Harfoots, the Stores are not nomadic. We wind up actually getting some exclusive images here. It says the Stores' ancestry at some point are nomadic. But over the years, we as a group have settled, and that has become our culture to look after one another. Because they stay in one place, the Stores have started to record their own history and culture. That's encoded into the very details, sets, and costumes, which help the actors understand their characters. There's this beautiful carving made by Christian Malstead, our wonderful production designer. That's like a mural of the history of the Stores and the Harfoot's origins. I loved looking at that while we were on set. It made me feel at home with the family. It's always helped me get into character as Merrimack. Who's Merrimack? Is this oh, here's Merrimack. It does say Rhûn is a desert and therefore a very different environment that the verdant Shire where the hobbits will one day live. Co-showrunners Patrick McKay and J.D. Payne told EW that they were excited to tell a Lord of the Rings story in the desert for the first time, and Malstead took advantage of the opportunity to put something different on screen. He says the canyon that the Stores call home is such a wonderful little oasis, but it's a harsh world. We wanted to make something that was very different from the Shire that we've seen on screen, so it was more like they have these abodes that are dug into the rock of this very hostile environment, which creates a very close-knit community. They have a written history. They have a library. They have a map of the stars. They have a whole history woven into this set. It also says, since the Harfoots predate hobbits, it's possible to think of Nori and Poppy as distant ancestors of Frodo and Sam. The river folk that descend from the Stores will one day produce Smeagol, aka Gollum. Does that mean we should expect to see Gollum-like characteristics from these characters? Not exactly. He says, my characters are intentions are always focused on what will protect us, what will keep us alive and hopefully thrive. While I was doing it, I was wondering whether or not I'm related to Smeagol, but I couldn't justify any sort of narrative like, oh, I'm his great-great-grandmother. That felt like a little bit of a reach. However, the fact that we meet the Stores in this desert environment, but know they will one day live by bountiful rivers, adds to an interesting resonance of their story. He says, in the books, the Stores are known as for loving water. I think it's so interesting that their origins are a really arid and dry environment, a place where water is sacred. So if you then travel and you come across a river and this is your history, it must seem like the ultimate Oasis. And I dig the sound of this, man. I really do. I do find it fascinating, especially because of the fact that we are sort of in a second age. The idea of really having to then establish the history of these different races and cultures just like years in advance. And the fact that at the end of this interview, it talks about the idea that while the hobbits and such and the river folk do eventually come to settle down in lush environments with a lot of water. You can kind of see where that love of water comes from, especially when you literally like barely have any. The fact that you're living in sort of a harsh environment and you find water to be rather sacred, to then go from that lifestyle to eventually either becoming nomadic again, being forced out of your home. Maybe the environments become too harsh. Maybe the events of what happens in season 2 kind of lead to their further movement. Maybe they connect again in some way, shape, or form with the Harfoots. But I really love just this early development of the pre-Hobbit sort of species, if you will, or clearly they're the same species, but just going down the line of seeing their ancestry and where it certainly comes from and winds up beginning. And as somebody like myself that really loves sort of lore building and world building, I think this is a pretty fascinating take to go ahead and really introduce us to these nomadic characters and give us sort of the very beginnings of what will eventually become the culture of the hobbits. I was really fascinated too, just getting the opportunity to see them in the trailer alone. I think what really did stand out to me was this harsh desert environment. I don't think it's one that I've personally have seen in the world of the Lord of the Rings in live action. We've seen like plains and hills and forests and stuff, but it was definitely a big contrast that I think certainly pops when you look at it in the trailer. And so the idea that we're going to be introduced to this environment and focus on these Hobbit-esque characters just seems really promising to me. And I love the idea of them taking these sort of creative swings and bringing these characters to life in this capacity and building on top of the lore kind of already established. So I am really eager to see how these characters work and just this new harsh environment. And yeah, give me season 2, man. I'm completely ready for this. But look, guys, I want to know your thoughts. How do you feel about the stores? We're getting so much great content, I think, in the Rings of Power. Clearly, there's going to be some horror vibes in here as they wind up creating these brand new villains. We're also going to get Tom Bombadil, if I'm not mistaken, a character that's been very prevalent in Tolkien's work, but never been seen in live action. They're going to provide that for us in here. Sort of flashback sequences and origin stories of Sauron also. A lot of promising things, man, when it comes to the Rings of Power Season 2. So sign me up. I know some people definitely going to hate on this show to certainly hate on it, but I definitely do think that the showrunners are certainly doing their best to kind of embody Tolkien and bring his work to the big stage. I'm not a Tolkienite, I'm not a Tolkien head. I don't necessarily follow a lot of the stuff, but for somebody that's an outsider to that world looking in, that really has only read the Lord of the Rings trilogy, I've only seen the movies themselves from Peter Jackson stuff and then the Hobbit sort of trilogy. If I'm looking at it from that perspective, I think the Rings of Power really fit into that world. And I think for me, it adds, having seen the trilogy adds to my love for the Rings of Power. And I think seeing what the Rings of Power have done in regards to setting up things that we will eventually see in like the trilogy movies. Granted, they're not connected in that sense, but storyline wise, they are Tolkien's creations. And so there is a connective tissue there. Seeing the Rings of Power makes me appreciate the Peter Jackson stuff just that much more, because I know that it's certainly all connected in that route. And so, yeah, man, I'm really looking forward to what season 2 is going to bring, guys. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section box below about the stores. And again, it's just the attention, the detail that I find just mesmerizing to me. Like the attention to detail that Tolkien kind of put into all of his work. And granted, look, you can feel some type of way. Like if you want to feel some type of way about the idea, like black dwarves, black people during Tolkien's time, like if you want to get in that mindset, have at it. Like that's just not how I approach things, right? Like the race of somebody does not make a show or a movie better or worse. Because at the end of the day, how good is the character? How good is the actual storyline itself? That's truly what matters at the end of the day. And for somebody like me that enjoys lore and world building, what Tolkien, along with people like George R. R. Martin, have been able to do in creating these vast worlds and appendices and long histories of these cultures and species and stuff, right? Like taking all those years to develop that stuff and put it into writing for us to enjoy as readers, and then to kind of see whether you agree with like how the showrunners have handled this particular series or not. you know the attention to detail is very Tolkien-esque. It's very George R. R. Martin-esque in the sense of just the costume designers and the set designers and the makeup artists. Like the idea of literally creating a mural of the history of the stores and the Harfoots on like a wall, in this particular harsh desert environment, and the pieces of their history being woven into their fabrics and the clothes that they wear to help these actors, become attached to who their characters are and understand their own history for these characters and this species and this society. Like the fact that they go that deep, to me, is very much Tolkien inspired. You can disagree in other aspects of it however you want to, but the fact that they're paying that close attention and they're bringing those little tiny details that help build upon the world that Tolkien created is a win to me. It is a huge win to me, and I think that's why I get so invested in this world, because they make me feel like I am living in this Tolkien world because of the attention to detail and the great attention to the history and the lore that certainly came before it. And I anytime you adapt anything, you have to take liberties. Okay. Sometimes trying to adapt things directly from a book to a television show or from a book to a movie just doesn't work as much as some of the purists would certainly like it to. But that doesn't mean taking liberties sometimes is always a bad thing to help divert from the story that I think Tolkien is certainly trying to tell. And I think that's what Rings of Power has certainly been rather true to, and allows me to really feel invested in what I feel like is personally a really great Tolkien-esque story. And so bring it on, season two. Bring it on, season two. But look, guys, I want to know your thoughts in the comment section box below. And with that out of the way, we are going to get to our last segment of the show.
And now, everybody, it is time for live viewer questions.
And we're going to get into our live viewer questions. And if you want to go ahead and submit a live viewer question over, you're certainly more than welcome to. It is currently up right now. Go over to our main YouTube page as such. Let me go ahead and bring this up for you. And again, usually every Saturday, if not the morning, maybe late afternoon, we'll go ahead and make a post. Go to the community tab, as you see here. Scroll down and boom, there you go. We got ourselves a live viewer question post. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this up here. While I do that, let me see if I can put on some music for you guys. I have a nice little background here. And my voice may be sound a little bit distorted at first, but it will eventually. Let me go ahead and get this organized. Okay, hopefully you guys can hear me. I don't know. Make sure if you can hear me, let me know in the comment section box. If the music is too loud, please let me know that also. I'm going to keep it about 16, but let me know if I need to lower the volume down. Go ahead and let me know. Hopefully you guys can hear me, but if you're having audio problems, please let me know. Let me refresh this. Newest first. Let's knock these out, man. Marcelino, I know you've talked a little bit about this before, but I wanted to go more into depth. Thoughts on Witcher Blood Origin, because when I first saw it, I thought it was okay, but as the series progressed, my opinion of it went downhill. Most of the characters felt more like gimmicks than actual characters. Bad CGI. Yeah, CGI was terrible. Villains were very cookie cutter and bland, a slew of plot holes that contradicted a lot of things from the main show, and the ending was probably the worst thing. When I saw that the ending, I got a vibe that they were doing Crisis on Infinite Earths, and it felt like that especially when the humans appeared in the end. The show was to give the fans Witcher content until season 3 came out, but I think most of the fans would have preferred a year without any Witcher content than what actually happened. I would agree with you. I think I had promise because Michelle Yeoh was in it, so I was like, oh, cool. But I had the same sentiments as you, Marcelino. Like, as the season, the first episode or two, I was like, okay. But as the season progressed, yeah, man, it just went downhill terribly. Bad CGI, bad characters, designs. I mean, it was pretty brutal. So I share the same sentiment with you, Marcelino. Number 2, the director of Dune films, Denis Villeneuve, has stated that after Dune Messiah, which will adapt the second book, he thinks he's done with the franchise. Now, the main story continues through a total of 8 books. The rest of the books focus on a different group of characters, but they continue the story of Paul Atreides started. Do you think that they should find a different director who wants to continue the Dune franchise and adapt the rest of the books if Denis Villeneuve wants to be done with the franchise? Yeah, absolutely. You know, I do think at some point in time, you need a fresh vision. You know, that's why I don't mind the idea of like a director sticking around for, 2 or 3 films. But if it is a franchise that you're going to go ahead and certainly continue afterwards, I like the idea of giving somebody else an opportunity, a breath of fresh air, because one, especially while it's not necessarily building off of the same group of characters, it's going to be different characters, but like you said, continuing the story that Paul Atreides kind of started, then yeah, if you're going to have a group of new characters that are going to be focused on, then yeah, go ahead and give me a new director. It could be a case of like, if they want to continue, do you continue with it as movies, or do you then move forward to continue with it as a series itself? I would say adapt them into television series if you can, and bring in a showrunner that has a different vision for it. But I don't blame Denis Villeneuve for wanting to go ahead and move on to something else, right? This would be his 3rd Dune movie that he would have potentially done. So in that regards, move on. I'm sure there's other movies that he wants to go ahead and create. He's been doing a fantastic job in building up this world after all these years. Pass the baton to somebody else if that's something that the production company wants to do, if they want to go ahead and continue along with some Dune content. So yeah, I say give me a fresh face to bring their new vision. You also say, when it comes to Alien prequels, some people don't like the ideas that they're trying to explore. It has less to do with the writing and more so that people just don't like an explanation, period. Okay. The beauty of Alien was not knowing what dangers lurk in the galaxy that no one knows, has explored, but then reveal that the xenomorph origins weren't natural and were instead bioengineered, takes away the mysterious allure. Then there's the countless questions that brought when trying to come up with an explanation. What camp are you in? I do agree, because I have stated on here before that there are times when some things I think are okay with being left up to mystery. And I stand by that in the sense of like, I'm kind of 50-50 there, Marcelino. If it's and I at least when it comes to Aliens, I think because of the fact that it was Ridley Scott's decision to do it, makes it okay for me. If it was anybody else trying to come on board Ridley Scott's franchise and then create that, then I might have a problem with that. But I think the fact that it was Ridley Scott who decided to do Prometheus and Covenant, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section, but because of the fact it was him, I'm okay with that decision. Yes, there is a sense of mystery around the xenomorphs that I find interesting from Aliens 1 and 2, or just the Alien franchise in general. But I also find it interesting that they're bioengineered, you know. That is a creature that I kind of would like to have seen how they were developed and their true purpose overall. So for me, I don't mind. So I think each franchise and takes on creatures or characters and their origin stories, I think would hit different for me. So I'm not in the camp of no, keep all character stuff mysteries, and I'm not in the camp of explain everything. To me, it really is very much dependent on who those creatures, who those characters are. And if it's the original creator of those characters wanting to then further explore their past, I'm more okay with them making that decision than, say, a production company that doesn't get the approval of the creator or whoever came before them to do this, and they just go on and create their own vision and get a new writer and director to go ahead and create a past that maybe the creator himself didn't have in mind or didn't want to really explore even further. Then that's where I would kind of push back at. But at least in regards to the alien stuff, if it's Ridley Scott's decision, then it's his decision. It may not necessarily work for some people, but it's the creator's decision, and so I'm okay with that. So I'm kind of in the middle, Marcelino, but I don't have a problem with people that feel that type of way about it. Peg C, what's up, Peg C? What do you think of Toy Story's plot, toys versus electronics? I love it. I love it. And when we talked about this, when they revealed the plot for Toy Story 5 on Friday, Stuart did mention the idea that he thought that would be an interesting storyline for them to tackle. And I thought, for me, especially as a parent now, I think he was like, I think Stuart was like, do kids even play with toys anymore, or they'd like just glue to the screen? It is, especially for me now with my son about to be 3 in November. We have done our best to keep him away from phones and tablets and stuff, but he is exploring more now, and he is discovering our phones. And when he picks up our phone, I mean, he's just drawn to the screen and he's pushing buttons and he's trying to navigate through it, and he's taking selfies of himself, or at least learning how to push the button to take the picture. It may not necessarily always be lined up, but he's definitely exploring it a little bit more. And it definitely has us worried, because it's like, we don't want our kid to be so consumed by a tablet or by a phone to not know how to interact or play with toys or just have fun. You know what I mean? But our generation is different than what it was back in the 80s and in the 90s, and technology has become very overpowering. And so I think the concept is head on. Like, I think it's just so smart, especially in the generation that we're in, to kind of see how do toys and electronics live side by side, and what's that battle certainly between them when it comes to kids growing up, and what is the role of toys for kids? When does the idea of playing with toys become corny, or like kids grow up from that type of stuff and move away from it, right? Like, what's the benefit of toys over electronics? I want to see all of that explored in Toy Story 5. And so now that, as somebody that's a parent now, it really appeals to me. So I'm a big fan of it. Did you ever watch Family Matters and Home Improvement? If so, what were your initial thoughts on the shows? I love both of them. Home Improvement was great. I loved Tim Allen along with his partner. He also had who was his neighbor? I can never remember his name off the top of my head, but all you would see was just his eyes and his hat. Was it Al? Shit, I can't remember his neighbor's name now. But I used to love both of those shows. If it was on TGIF or on ABC, I watched it and enjoyed it for sure. Do you remember the mini crossover between DC and Marvel published 1996? If so, what were your initial thoughts? Yeah, I remember picking them up on a weekly or monthly basis when they dropped. It was the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. I'd never thought that we would get something like that back in the 90s. The fact that they were that open to having their heroes face off against each other's heroes, I thought was really cool. It's been so long since I've watched it. I mean, there were, and I think some of what was more fascinating were there were definitive results to some of these battles too. And it always made me fascinated to learn like who comes up with those decisions, right? Like how does DC and Marvel sit down at the table and agree on, yes, this person is going to win this battle, right? Especially if it's the opposing publishing company whose hero, gets defeated. And so I just found it really intriguing. And look, it's something that happened in the comics, and I hope it's something that we get the opportunity to see happen in on the big screen at some point in time. You've got Kevin Feige and James Gunn, two very close people. If anybody can eventually make it work within the next 10 years or so, it could potentially be them. So I hope we get the opportunity. But I thought the marketing for it was great. I remember seeing it everywhere. So yeah, I was a really big fan of the DC versus Marvel stuff. Would you like to see Marvel attempt to do a movie based on the original Green Lantern, Alan Scott? Wait, would you like to see Marvel? Maybe you meant DC attempt to do a movie based on the original Green Lantern, Alan Scott. I do want to see something about Alan Scott. I think that's one of the reasons I was kind of fascinated with the Greg Berlanti Green Lantern series that was going to be on Max at one point in time. It felt like it was very much going to be a generational show that dealt with like Alan Scott, was it Guy Gardner in the middle, and then maybe a more current iteration of Green Lantern. And I just thought it was fascinating that we were actually going to get a live action Alan Scott. So I do think there's something promising there. I don't necessarily know if it will work as a movie per se. But I would be open to something like Justice League, or I should say Justice Society of America, a JSA movie or a JSA television series. I don't know if I would be okay. I mean, look, I think I would be okay with the Green Lantern Alan Scott series. But I do think there's a bigger opportunity for something like a JSA where Alan Scott is involved, if that makes sense. But yeah, I do think Alan Scott at some point in time should get a live action adaptation for sure. Sam, what's up, Sam? Good to see you. Moon Knight season 2 might be coming soon, but I don't know when because I love season 1 was amazing. I want to rewatch season 1 of Moon Knight. There are elements of it I didn't care for. Other elements I was a really big fan of. The costume was sick. I loved Oscar Isaac in it for sure. Loved his relationship with the god that gave him his powers and stuff. So there are elements to it that I appreciated. I like the idea of the split personality of him sort of falling asleep and then his body being taken over by his other personality, and then him being thrusted back into situations in which he's just like not even mentally or physically prepared for. There were definitely some fun dynamics to it. It's been so long since I've watched it. I do want to go ahead and give season 1 a rewatch though, Sam, to see how I properly feel about it. What if RPM team up in Kamen Rider Dragon Knight same year in 2009, and also another team up with Jungle Fury? I would like to see Dashi return inside Cassie's body. That would be pretty interesting. I'd like to see another remake sequel is Christopher Robin with Gopher and Lumpy. And I would like to see the Black Cauldron live action, bit more darker version for Peter Jackson as director and Andy Serkis voice Gurgi. The Black Cauldron? I don't know if I've ever seen the Black Cauldron or heard of that one before. But you would like to see another remake sequel is Christopher Robin. Didn't we just have one for Christopher Robin? But you say you want to see a sequel to it. Okay. Yeah, I don't know how well that last movie did, but yeah, why not? Jessica Fryman, would you like to see Spider-Gwen or Miles Morales get an animated series? And before the Power Rangers reboot was canceled, was there a spirit ready and was casting was there a script ready and was casting started? So the first one, I don't want a Miles Morales animated series. I think the fact that we're gonna get we're having an animated trilogy from Miles Morales for me is enough. Now I'm ready to see Miles in live action. But a Spider-Gwen, yeah, give me a Spider-Gwen animated series for sure. I wouldn't even mind the idea of whoever's voicing her in the movie to get it, or even Emma Stone. I would be okay with either of those. And before the Power Ranger reboot was canceled, was there a script ready? Yes, I believe there were scripts that were in fact ready. Jinsaku did mention some of the details about it. As far as casting, I don't believe casting had started yet. I think they had their character traits and personalities and like bios created and things like that, along with the script, but I don't believe casting had started at the time. No. Meet AJ Loves Bacon. He says Orion, the Silver Ranger from Power Rangers Super Megaforce, had more fleshed out character and personality compared to the other Rangers in the season. His backstory, which included being a miner from the planet Andresia, and discovering his morpher and Ranger Key in ice, added depth to his character. His development was a memorable highlight of the season, and his unique personality, skills, and motivations made him stand out. His fish out of water story as an alien adapting to Earth's culture also added an interesting dynamic to the show. I did kind of like the fish out of water story for him. Orion's character was a notable exception in Super Megaforce. Yes, it still bothered me that in Sentai footage, Orion's personality kept changing when his Ranger suit, because of Guy and Gokaiger was more of a flamboyant hyper person than Orion, who was more serious. Yeah, Guy was a huge fanboy of just Super Sentai in general. The guy loved like every season and every team of Super Sentai, so he was just always super flamboyant and high energy all the time in regards to just being a part of the team. Unfortunately, we had the exact opposite with Troy. We knew nothing about him aside from him knowing martial arts and having random dreams of the legendary battle. If Troy had the opportunity to come back, he could have been redeemed. Like when it comes to the legendary battle, perhaps Gosei, the green morphing master and morphing grid, implanted the dreams of the legendary battle into Troy, so he'd be worthy of being the Red Ranger and leading him to the other Rangers. It's just saying that Saban's restrictions made Troy, who was as a character in the entire series of Super Megaforce, ended up being a huge disappointment with lots of wasted potential. Yeah, I do think it was a lot of wasted potential there. I don't know. It almost felt like Saban wanted Troy to be Jason without a personality again. You know, I just remember countless sequences of him in the forest training alone, just training. He just had really lack of any sort of emotional range whatsoever. Again, I don't know if that was based off of, I think somebody had said to me once that in an interview, that's how Saban or like the directors wanted Troy to kind of act. I think it was definitely a missed opportunity, honestly. So yeah, just a little bit of a bummer that Andrew Gray, if he did have acting capabilities, didn't get the opportunity to kind of show it any more than he did. But yeah, I enjoyed Orion's character for sure. Most talented man in the world says Andrew Garfield became a GOAT. Many fans love Andrew Garfield's return in Spider-Man No Way Home and now appreciate his Spider-Man films and want him to return to the MCU. Andrew Garfield's return in No Way Home was a masterstroke. His appearance alongside Tobey Maguire and Tom Holland brought a new level of excitement and nostalgia to the film. Fans love seeing Garfield reprise his role as Spider-Man, and it's clear that his performance has rekindled appreciation for his original Spider-Man films. It definitely has. It definitely has. I was a big fan of the first Amazing Spider-Man. I thought it was handled really well. Going back and rewatching Amazing Spider-Man 2, there are times when I watched it and I think to myself, I don't know if this movie is as bad as some people paint it out to be. There are some elements that seem a little bit cringe to me. Like, I didn't care about the Harry Osborn stuff. There are things about Amazing Spider-Man 2 that I am a fan of, and other things that I personally just did not care for. But I was a really big fan of the first Amazing Spider-Man, even though, Andrew Garfield's not necessarily my Peter Parker choice. I really loved him as Spider-Man. He just had the great quips. He just had that New Yorker sort of insult vibe to him. He was just really quick on his feet sort of mentality, that I come to really appreciate him as Spider-Man. The Spider-Verse concept allowed fans to see Garfield's Spider-Man in a new light, and his chemistry with the other Spider-Man was undeniable. His return also provided closure for his character's story arc, like saving Tom Holland's MJ from falling off the Statue of Liberty, which was a huge parallel to Gwen, which was left somewhat open-ended in the Amazing Spider-Man 2. Yeah, I think it was such a brilliant. I can't remember if I literally got choked up or kind of teary-eyed, but like literally, I was so happy that he got the opportunity to redeem himself by saving MJ in here. And I agree. I think his chemistry with the other ones are so. It's so great. Like I love the scene of him just listening to Toby's Peter explain like where his webbing comes from. You know, he's like, I just do it, you know, I just do it. And Andrew's like, oh, okay, like I love that they're just so entrenched and focused on learning about their altered universe characters of themselves. It was really great. Like, as much as I say, like, I'm kind of over some of the multiverse saga movies, I have maybe like one or two good ones kind of left in me. I still think to this day, No Way Home did the best multiverse story imaginable, for sure. And maybe it's a little bit of the nostalgia, but Andrew brought it, Toby brought it on just an emotional depth level that really spoke to Tom Holland's Peter Parker and really helped elevate that movie in ways that was just unbelievable, honestly. And I'm so glad they got the opportunity to actually make that happen for the fans. Now fans are clamoring for more Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. Many fans are hoping that he'll return to the MCU in some capacity. While nothing's been officially announced yet since the release of No Way Home, it's clear that Garfield's return has sparked a new wave of enthusiasm for his Spider-Man. It's a testament to the power of nostalgia and the enduring appeal of the Spider-Man character. Since No Way Home, we learned that many actors like to pull in Andrew Garfield when it comes to not publicly revealing they are returning to the franchise that they are most known for. Would you like to see Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire and Tom Holland return in the Miles-verse universe, either both animated or live action? You know, this is probably going to be an unpopular decision, but no, I don't want to see Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire return again. Look, if they were to give us like, hey, Amazing Spider-Man 3, cool. I don't mind that. If they want to bring them back for Secret Wars again, cool. I don't mind that. Do I need it? No, I don't need it. I think No Way Home was a proper send-off for both guys. Toby and Andrew, arms linked, having given Tom Holland a huge hug and thanking him for that. Like, you could just tell the chemistry and sort of like the passing of the torch. And to me, their stories are told. You know, they had their opportunity. Toby got his 3 films. It's sad that Andrew Garfield, never got his 3rd film. So that's why, like, if they announced Andrew Garfield for Amazing Spider-Man 3, I wouldn't be mad at it. If they wanted to bring Tobey Maguire back, I wouldn't be mad at it. Would I like to see it? No, it's not something I'm asking for, because I think they had the proper send-off in No Way Home. And like, that's how I personally would like to remember their characters, you know, uplifting their current Peter Parker Spider-Man in this MCU universe and giving him valuable lessons to learn and take away from it. And I think if you're one of the OG Spider-Man like Andrew and Toby, that's really what you can only ask for. And you got the opportunity to return as that character, and I think they did it, handled it brilliantly. So no, I wouldn't be mad, but I don't need it. I don't need it. Blossom, remember in Once and Always they had a Pandora Protocol where they had all the Rangers of the past 30 years involved. When they were captured and placed in Robo Rita's machine, do you think they used the Lightning Collection for the Rangers they captured? Oh, maybe they used the Lightning Collection figures. I'll have to go back and rewatch Once and Always, but I remember some of the still photos of like the figures for Power Rangers. I gotta think that there were Lightning Collection versions of them for sure. But who knows? But I do believe so, Blossom. But yeah, guys, I think that will do it for our live viewer questions. Let me just make sure. Yeah, I got everybody from Marcelino all the way up to Blossom. So thank you guys, as always, for certainly coming through with your fantastic questions, as always, guys. But that will do it for our live viewer question portion of the show. But yeah, guys, remember every Saturday we'll go ahead and post a live viewer question post on our YouTube page. Feel free to submit your questions over, and then we'll definitely get to it at the end of our show. But great show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys so much for everybody that definitely joined me today. Keep the questions coming. Hopefully, we have some great new content for you guys later on this week. I did drop, if you want to learn a little bit more about Alien Romulus and some behind the scenes stuff, Alien Romulus drops this upcoming Thursday for early screenings, and then find it everywhere for you guys on Friday. If you want to get hyped for that, I did do a reaction video to like a 12-minute behind the scenes video of for a featurette for Alien Romulus. So if you want to dive a little bit more behind the scenes of that movie, join me. There is a video that's currently up on our YouTube channel. You can check that out. I'm probably going to do an individual skeleton crew review video for you guys. Expect to see that sometime later on this week. I'm going to try and get in touch with Stuart a little bit, maybe when he's feeling better. Try and push him on that My Adventures of Superman Season 2 review for you guys. We still didn't do a Deadpool and Wolverine spoiler review. We did do a report card. I'll probably post the report card up here later on today for you. We have given Deadpool and Wolverine an official grade, so we'll go ahead and post that up on our YouTube channel later on today and over on Facebook for you guys. And then, yeah, we should have some brand new shows that are certainly going to be dropping as well. So hopefully we get ourselves some new reviews for you guys, some new movies that are going to be coming out here relatively shortly. So fresh content always coming to you on a weekly basis here at APlus Hero Report. But if I don't see you checking out some of our videos later on this week, hopefully you will be back next Sunday for our live episode of Hero Report as well. But that will certainly do it for me here today, ladies and gentlemen. We'll certainly see you guys later. But in the meantime, do me a big favor, as always, guys. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.